Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the afternoon session, the 1 o'clock session for Etobicoke York Committee of Adjustment. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. Just like to do some introductions. I'm Stan Komorek. I will be your chair this afternoon. My fellow panel members on my far left is Natalia Popovic, and also on my left, Dominic Gully, on my right, Laura Alderson, and on my far right, Bill Dalton. And at the other end of the podium is our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, Barbara Bertozik, and Barbara's staff in the front. So just some preliminary remarks. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that apply to property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consents to sever property to create new lots. Our land acknowledgement: we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Our procedure this afternoon: the Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid and in-person virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, while others will do so virtually through a means called WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video only. Via or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. Decisions of the committee: people attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, as the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed third-party rights to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions, and now only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons, and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Our procedure: we will do each item in the order listed in the agenda. When you make your submissions where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching or at your 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing today. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the materials outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if there are substantial revisions to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all of those entitled to a notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on the speakers here in the hearing room and then those participating online. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut, but only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This will then mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Okay, before we go forward with the agenda, just are there any conflicts of interest or any interest to declare by panel members or staff of the afternoon session?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
With item 22, 26, and 27.
Okay. So if staff can note that, and then we'll.
Mr. Chair, similarly, I have a conflict with number 26, so we're overlapping on one.
Okay, so we're going to be down to 3 for 1. Okay. We'll be asking you guys to leave as we come up to those items. And before we get to the top of the agenda, if we could deal with deferral requests for the afternoon session. Let me just get rid of these notes. So I think there are a number. I believe item 20 is our first item to be deferred, which is 1 Carswell Place. And this is at the request of both staff and the applicant. And Kinga Surma is the applicant. And Kinga's online.
Yes, I'm here.
Good afternoon. We're assuming, can we just get a reason for the deferral? I'm assuming you're in support of that?
Yes, I am deferring because we've decided to make substantial changes to the application and staff didn't have enough time to review the revisions. So we thought it would be prudent to request a 1-month deferral and appear before the very next Committee of Adjustment meeting in March.
Okay, we can't guarantee it will be at the very next, but whichever one is first available. Is there anyone else to speak to this item?
No, there is not.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we'll take it back to committee for a decision.
Sure, I'm going to move that the application for 1 Carswell Place be deferred at the request of the applicant. Also planning with a tip that perhaps variants 2 and 3 be carefully considered.
Thank you, Mr. Gully.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, the item is deferred. Item 22, I believe the applicant has asked for a deferral. This is 110th Street. And let's just see who that is. Do you have to leave for a deferral? I don't know. Okay. Okay, do we have the agent online?
So, Mr. Chairman, the agent opted to not attend since the item will be deferred.
So, looks like Bill didn't have to leave. Okay, is there anyone else to speak to this one?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So, panel members, we have a request for a deferral.
Is that from the applicant or
Yes.
the department? Okay, thank you.
Was there a reason stated for that? I don't
I
remember
believe we were notified by the applicant right after we mailed the notices that there were changes.
Okay.
So we did send out a reschedule notice. That's why there's nobody here.
Oh, and that's why there's no agenda items. Yeah.
But we do need a motion to defer.
Okay.
On that basis, Mr. Chair, I will move to defer this matter.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. Thank you, Mr. Gully. All in favor? Okay, the item is deferred. Gotta go find Bill. 25, 26. Okay,
Just, can we, going back to that, if Mr. Dalton can just state his reason for the deferral publicly?
Because I represent Archdiocese on other files, so
Okay.
just to be above board.
okay, item 30, there's been some confusion because I believe staff are requesting a deferral. We didn't even realize that because it was mislabeled as a different item, and I believe the applicant didn't realize that either. So we can either deal with it in order, or let's get the applicant up and see what's going on there. Number 30, yeah. So that's 8.
Christoph here?
8 Denison Road.
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm quite shocked. I just found out about 10 minutes ago that I was to be deferred. We already deferred in August.
I know, and you and I both, because planning had labeled number 31 as their deferral request, not number 30. So it's news to all of us. Do you even know why they want it deferred?
I have no idea. I've received no documentation at all.
And as you said, this has been previously deferred. So you'd think there'd
It
be
has been previously deferred. Yes, correct.
And I'm assuming you would not then be in favor of another deferral.
No, I think my client will be quite upset.
I have to ask. Okay. Okay. I mean, the only thing I can see here is, but is it planning or is it forestry's requesting a refusal, and they have not provided us with an alternative to refusal? Are you aware of that?
It's forestry. There are no trees on the property. And my client is very willing to add some trees.
Okay.
So
the confusion here, there's confusion on multiple levels here, because apparently it's planning that's requesting, but forestry, usually when they ask for a refusal, they at least give us an alternative or at least tell us why. And I can't find either.
yeah, the only document that I received was the provision of providing one street tree,
Okay.
which is standard practice. So we're happy to do that, and we will provide 3 or 4 if necessary.
Well, yeah, that's because they listed.
So it's for Denison, it's 2 and 3.
Not refusal. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, it's forestry conditions 2 and 3. It's not refusal. There was, yeah. Okay, on the numbering, yeah. Okay, so your issue then is not with forestry, it is with planning, and unfortunately, we don't know why. So let's come back to it in the order of the agenda, unless you want to take a vote on whether we should defer it or not.
Just don't know what the reason is.
Given that we don't know why, it's probably best that we do defer. That we don't step on anything we don't want to step on.
Well, today's number is 1 and
If we wait and do it in order, will that give staff a chance to find out if there's any planning documents, or there just isn't any?
Well, the applicant can maybe try to reach out to planning.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's do that. So we'll leave you on the agenda and deal with it in order.
But I don't know. The only correspondence I've had is with the Annalisa Mora, who's the applications technician. I have not had any conversation with the planning department, nor do I know who to speak to regarding.
So if you look at their
This matter.
memo, there's a name attached to their recommendation. You can reach out to them. That's what we're suggesting.
Oh, okay, I will do so.
Okay, so maybe we can get some clarity by the time we get to that agenda item then. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then we have item 20, no, we did 22 already. Yeah, 33, sorry. So 100 Glendon Avenue East. And who's the agent? David Engelman. Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. David Eagleman, Design Plan Services, Inc., 87 Skyway Avenue, Suite 200. Applicant here on behalf of the owner. So through you, Mr. Chair, this application was deferred very recently on January 23rd. That was a result of the fact that the zoning examiner unfortunately missed 2 variances that we require. And because it was just missed variances, we endeavored to get it rescheduled as soon as possible. But then once it was already rescheduled, planning staff raised some concerns with the additional variances. So now we're in communication with staff and trying to sort out those issues. So unfortunately, we have to request a deferral again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the explanation. Committee members? Oh, was there anyone else to speak to this item?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, on the basis of the explanation provided by the agent and to allow parties to have a discussion, I move to defer this matter to the next available date.
Okay, thank you.
I second that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, that item is deferred. So we can go back to the top of the agenda. Okay, so we'll be starting with item 18, which is 27 MANSUR Terrace. This is an application to alter the existing building to contain a total of 7 dwelling units. The existing dwelling unit and secondary units will be maintained. There are a total of 2 variances being requested, and we have no comments from any city departments on this item. And Sarah is online. The agent is online.
Yes, I'm connecting her right now. Okay, go ahead, Sarah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, good morning. Can you just give us your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Sarah Maddy, and my address is 1356 Weir Chase in Mississauga.
Okay, thank you. And if you could give us a brief overview, I believe.
Yep.
Where are we? Yep, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so we are proposing to maintain the existing 7 dwelling rooms and the existing secondary suite in the basement. Currently, the number of dwelling rooms exceeds the permitted limit, which is 6. And we are also short by 1 parking space, as our property only offers 2 parking spaces. However, these dwelling rooms are already rented to students, and we don't wish to make any changes or displace any tenants. We do believe that the current arrangement provides valuable assistance to students by offering affordable rental rates. And since they are students, most do not have cars. So this helps us with the parking concerns. So we kindly ask that you consider allowing us to keep the existing conditions as they are benefiting the low-income students. Thank you.
Okay, this is basically student housing for York University.
Correct, yeah. And everything, the proposal is existing right now.
Understood.
Yeah.
Will you need to apply for a building permit to get final approval?
Correct, yeah.
So that will address fire code issues, et cetera?
Yeah, we will meet all the fire requirements.
Okay.
And like all the building code
Thank you.
requirements.
Panel member, oh, there's no one to speak to this one, I'm assuming?
No, there's not.
Okay. No, there's no comments. Any questions? No?
I have a question for clarification. Madam Agent, can you clarify that this building is privately owned and not part of the ownership in any way of York University?
Hello? Sarah? We've lost you.
Yeah,
Sarah, go
sorry,
ahead.
I was muted, sorry. So this property is, it's privately owned.
Thank you.
And the owner is actually here, so.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know what you charge for rent, but that's another story. Okay. Yep.
So with that, I'd like to move a motion for approval. I believe the application meets the 4 tests and there are no conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Seconder. Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Okay, it's approved unanimously. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Okay, item 19, 18 BATAWA Crescent. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 3 variances being requested. And the speaker is...
My name is Syed Harun Hussain, 5403 Langford Road, Burlington. I'm here for the minor variances applied for this custom new house. The maximum lot coverage exceeding the floor area index and a widening of the driveway to accommodate more cars.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation if you're okay with that.
I'm good with that too.
Okay. So do panel members have any questions? No? Okay, perfect. And there is no one else to speak to this item?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So thank you, sir. We'll take it into committee. Okay. Anyone?
We have 6 form letters of support.
Yes, we do. And there's no conditions being requested?
No. I'm happy to make a motion if no one else has any questions. I believe this application meets the 4 tests and move for approval with no conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Archibald. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Okay, item 20 has been deferred. Item 21, 216 Shaver Avenue North. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 6 variances being requested. Transportation is requesting 4 conditions of approval. Forestry is requesting refusal, or in the alternative, condition 1. And I see Mr. Milne Price at the microphone.
Good afternoon. Good to see you again, Mr. Chairman, fellow committee members. Just for the record, my name is Addison Milne Price. I'm a planner at Design Plan Services located at 87 Skyway Avenue, here on behalf of the owner.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation. If you want to give us a brief overview, and we'll just go for questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely, I think that that is fair. I think I'll just focus on discussing urban forestry's issue.
Yep.
They've requested specifically a refusal of variance 6, and that pertains to the driveway that we're proposing. So this variance, it's the only variance that doesn't pertain to the building itself. The current existing driveway, it exits onto Shaver Avenue North, and this new building is going to exit onto West Glen Crescent, which is somewhat similar to how the corner lot across the street, across Shaver, 1 East Glen Crescent, it currently has the same setup where it exits onto East Glen instead of exiting onto Shaver Avenue. Now, West Glen Crescent and Shaver Ave, they're both classified as local roads, whereas they're quite close to Burnham Thorpe Road, which is a major arterial road. Arterial roads, obviously, they see quite a bit more traffic, and therefore I think it's logical to assume that Shaver Ave is going to receive a little bit more traffic than West Glen Crescent. And so by moving the access towards West Glen Crescent, I think overall this will be a better transportation scenario, as people entering and exit won't have to deal with the more traffic that's on Shaver Avenue. So that's our rationale for proposing the exit at that location. Now, the reason urban forestry staff are requesting a refusal or a condition number 1 is because this driveway, it does directly intersect with the tree protection zone of a city-owned tree. The picture of the tree is on the screen there. I'll point out that it is quite a small tree. It's a 4-centimeter diameter tree at breast height, which is quite young. It is still a protected tree, and while I don't have an arborist report that states we can locate this tree on a different property, it does occur to me that it's such a small tree that we could pretty easily replant a similar sized tree, and we have on our site plan included where that location would be. So we've already included space for that tree. I'm confident that we can reach a mutually agreeable solution with urban forestry staff, and I'm happy to discuss any other questions about the other variances.
Okay, fair enough. I can see it's quite recent because when you look at Google Street View, it doesn't exist yet. So, yeah. No. It's actually, because he's going on the other side for the driveway. So it would be over here. That's what I'm saying.
So have you discussed this solution with them?
I have not discussed this with urban forestry.
But if we impose condition 1, then that will oblige them to do that.
Yep.
So that's correct,
Just wondering.
Mr. Chair.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I'm assuming there's no one else to speak to this?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No? Okay, thank you. No. So, any questions?
Just one. I do have a question. Were there development engineering conditions on this one?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the only 2 comments I see are from transportation staff and urban forestry.
Okay, so transportation is within the development engineering, because I think there's 4 conditions. They all relate to transportation.
That's correct.
And you're okay with that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
For what it's worth, the condition regarding the adjacent driveway that's sort of going on top of the proposed driveway, that's essentially already been addressed. The neighboring dwelling, you can't see on Google Maps yet, but it had recently been approved at this committee for a new dwelling. It's under construction, and that driveway, it's already been fixed, and it's no longer on this property.
It's an encroachment issue that's been addressed.
That's correct.
Okay, I think we're clear. Take it into committee.
Chair, I'm prepared to speak on this item. There are 6 variances before us. Each of the variances being requested, I think, are appropriate for this site. I do believe they meet the test, and I'm going to move approval subject to urban forestry condition 1 and development engineering conditions of January the 28th that relate to transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Gully. Thank you, Ms. Alderston. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay, item 22 has been deferred, so we're on to item 23, which is 350 Lake Promenade. This is an application to construct a new duplex. Urban Forestry is requesting conditions 1 and 2. There are 4 sorry, I should have said first, there are 4 variances being requested. Planning has a condition of approval, and I believe our speaker is, where's my 23? Oh, Franco Romano. Mr. Romano, I'm assuming you're online.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the panel. Franco Romano, Action Planning, 321 Lakeshore.
Good afternoon, sir. I think we're going to need a presentation on this application?
Yes, no worries. If staff can bring up my presentation slides, please. This is a corner lot. Thank you. Appreciate that. So this is a corner lot. It's located at the north west corner of 38th Street and Lake Promenade, and you'll see the outline of the subject property. The dwelling that's being proposed overlaps the existing dwelling. You'll see that with a black outline. In terms of the building footprint, the front yard setback, you'll see there's an angled nature to the front lot line, and the dwelling does not follow that angled portion. It's a square building. So, but the front yard setback widens from right to left or east to west. So then it pretty much lines up with a neighboring dwelling at number 352 Lake Promenade. And planning staff have reviewed this, and they're in agreement that there's a proper alignment there. The east side yard setback is to that flanking street, and it's just to the building 2.41 instead of 3 meters. And there's ample space in behind the dwelling to the neighboring building at 38th Street, so there's no impact there. And we'll soon see on an air photo that there's a good alignment as well. The second floor balcony is also on that east side, and that provides for views onto the street, the public realm, and has no impact. And that is just a 35 centimeter variance in terms of a project setback. The fourth variance deals with the parking location, and what you'll see on the site plan is the backyard is landscaped. There's a mature tree in the backyard. There's a mature tree in the boulevard, and there's a significant hedge that follows along the 38th Street Boulevard and wraps around and is on the neighboring property to the north on 38th Street. So it's our submission that the location of a parking space in the backyard is not appropriate in this instance or off the flanking streets. Also, the dwelling itself is the low profile 2 stories, which we will see shortly. And the proposed parking on Lake Promenade, you'll see it's a bit of a funnel shape. It goes from basically one driveway width to 2 spaces on private property. There is no integral garage, and much of that driveway overlaps the existing walkway that's located in that position. There's no front yard landscaping or side yard landscaping or rear yard landscaping issues, and all city private trees are being protected in relation to the parking supply. Slide number 2, we'll see there's an aqua line that I'm showing in front of the property along Lake Promenade. So you'll see that there's a good front wall alignment there. The building footprint itself is shown on a broken white line, and you'll see that there's a staggered nature to those properties along Lake Promenade in this angled condition, so that's appropriate. The white dots represent driveways onto Lake Promenade and parking in the front yard. There's front yard parking to an integral garage off of Lake Promenade just across the street on the other side of 38th Street. And there's several properties along Lake Promenade that have parking spaces that do not access front yard or front integral garage. And we'll see those shortly as well. There are other properties. I see that the way this slide is presented doesn't show every single one well, it doesn't show the entire slide, but there are other properties that I'm happy to also refer to that I did not put a white dot on, but there's several. Slide number 3 shows photographs along Lake Promenade, and if you just look from the bottom up, these are all basically across the street and on Lake Promenade itself, same side of the street, where there are driveways that do not have integral garages or garages associated with them. So it's quite common condition. And slide number 4 shows the streetscape. We'll see along Lake Promenade. Thank you, kindly staff. The number 350 has got the blue windows. I kept the blue tint on there, but you'll see it's a low profile building that fits in well with that streetscape. I would submit that the conditions of approval that urban forestry and planning staff have are appropriate and acceptable. and that the variance request is minor in nature and creates no unacceptable adverse impact. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Armano. I have a couple of questions before I turn it over to the panel, and I believe there's other speakers as well. If this were a single-family dwelling as opposed to a duplex, do you know what, would you have a GFA variance on it?
It were a single-family dwelling. Bear with me, I have to click on the right. There would be, yes.
Do you know what that would be? If you don't, that's okay.
Nope, I do. I just need to click on my plans. I'm on a different system here, so I'm just I just need to pull up the plans here. It'd be 0.67, 0.68.
Sorry, 0.67 or 68, and what's
0.68.
what's permitted in that area? Is it 4.5?
I believe it's 3.5.
3.5. Okay, so that would be substantial. My next question, perhaps if we could pull up drawing A1B, which I believe is the basement. And on that, it indicates Unit 2. Can you actually delineate for us what is, in fact, what makes up Unit 2? I'm assuming it's not the entire floor plan.
Yes, I can do so in words. Unit 2 right now is L-shaped. You'll see from upper right to lower left. It is kitchen, living room. Then there's the bathroom, closet, and the bedroom, and a couple of other closets. That is how it's depicted right now.
So
the HVAC right now, the furnace room is in the middle of the floor plan.
Right.
That may move, and if that moves, then this if that moves off to the side, then this would become part of that recreational living area that's on the lower part of that floor plan,
which is part of Unit 1.
Yeah, but if that furnace room moves, then part of that recreational living area. This is one of the things that is being sorted out in terms of the building code related design. If that HVAC moves, then part of that recreational living area would form part of Unit 2, and it would basically become a 2-bedroom unit. But part of that basement would be for Unit 1, and the other part would be the Unit 2.
Because the way it's configured right now, Unit 2 makes up less than 50% of that ground floor area, does it not?
Correct. Yep.
So really it's kind of like a secondary suite subservient to the main unit.
No, sir. It's a duplex. It's a second unit. It's a separate second unit, and that's how the building department has reviewed it, and that's what the minor variance request is for. So as a duplex.
Okay, so when you're going for building permit, you're going to have fire separations and all that between the two units, I guess.
That's correct, and that's one of the things that is being sorted out regarding the HVAC, where the furnace room is going to be located.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have anyone in person for this, or it's just online?
So we have two people online. We have a Cindy Tran, but she opted out tonight.
Right, and then Andy Choles.
Andy Choles, yes.
No one here in person.
No one in person.
Okay, so Mr. Choles, if you could come up to do your presentation.
Hello, I'm online.
Yeah.
I'll be referring to Ms. Mercado's letter of objection from the LBNA filed on January 31st on the AIC site. My name is Andy Choles. I live at 12 Jasmine Avenue in Long Branch. I'm a board member of the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. We have a mission statement to protect, celebrate, and enhance the neighborhood of Long Branch. This application of 350 Lake Promenade should be refused. It doesn't meet the intent and purpose of the bylaws and the intent and purpose of the official plan or the clarification provided by the Long Branch Neighborhood Character Guidelines. The official plan states that no changes are to be made through rezoning, minor variance, consent, or other public action that are out of keeping with the physical character of the neighborhood. Currently, the application proposes the following, which is contrary to the policy. 4.1.5, the prevailing location, design, and elevations relative to the grade of driveways and garages. And that policy is included in the excerpt, page 4 of the letter. Vehicle access to a parking space on a corner lot must be from a flanking street that is not a major street. At present, there is a rear parking solution that is compliant with policy 4.1.5E and the Long Branch Neighborhood Character Guidelines. Retaining this parking solution would be more supportive of mature boulevard trees and of a protected size that are on the lot. The applicant's plan is to crowd 2 parking spots onto a parking pad in the front yard with a narrow single access drive, which would require cars to back out onto Lake Promenade. This parking solution does not presently exist on this lot and is certainly not a safer solution in the public interest. Having the driveway enter onto Lake Promenade would necessitate a curb cut and would result in vehicles entering onto the busier of the 2 roadways. I refer you to pages 6 to 9 of the letter of objection. The Lake Promenade is part of the Cross Canada Great Trail, known locally as the Waterfront Trail. These pages show the map of the trail nationally, regionally, and locally. Page 10 shows you a sample of the fairly steady bicycle traffic along the route spring, summer, and fall. This path shares Lake Promenade, joining Marie Curtis Park in the west to Colonel Samuel Smith Park in the east. It is a much-loved and well-used feature of our neighborhood. Corner lots are identified as unique in the Long Branch Neighborhood Character Guidelines and have character-defining aspects. The map on page 12 illustrates the prevailing parking solution for corner lots in the immediate and broader context. On this map, the corner lots are outlined in yellow, and the light or dark blue rectangles show lots with parking behind the home with or without a garage. The prevailing parking condition solution for corner lots is parking in the rear. The changed location of the parking space is also identified as variance 4 on the city planning. We would argue that this is a significant variance because it results in unnecessarily disruptions to the traffic on Lake Promenade. Tabs 4 and 5 of the letter, pages 14 to 22. We have included excerpts from the Long Branch Neighborhood Character Guidelines 3.6 corner lots where it states, locate driveways in the exterior side yard adjacent to the secondary street and away from the corner. It is unfortunate this detached home with a secondary unit is allowed to be described as a duplex, despite the relatively recent provincial legislation that significantly blurs the lines of what's a duplex versus a single detached home with a secondary suite. The wording of the City of Toronto bylaw has not changed. The City of Toronto even clarifies in its definition of a duplex, a detached house with a secondary suite is not a duplex. In my experience, a classic duplex is similar to a semi-detached house with relatively equal-sized dwelling units stacked on top of one another rather than being side by side. Separate dwelling spaces with separate entrances. Calling this home a duplex only allows for a list of zoning exemptions, specifically FSI, building depth, building length, and side yard setbacks. Even with the additional allowances, this home encroaches on the side yard setback with a home too close to 38th Street, that's the east side, was variance 2, and the second floor balcony further a small incursion into the same setback distance noted as variance 3. The intent of duplex and bylaws that permit them in Long Branch was supposed to be a way of allowing more dense and more affordable housing. Long Branch through zoning has always permitted them as an alternate form of more affordable housing. This application does not accomplish that ideal. This is a very large 7-bedroom, 6-bathroom house with a tiny secondary suite in the basement, which includes yet another bedroom and bathroom. This application should be assessed using the bylaw permissions of a single detached home with a secondary suite, including FSI. FSI on its own does not prevent legitimate secondary suites from being built in single detached homes. In conclusion, this application should be refused. Changing the parking area from the front yard
Andy,
is
can you
not
wrap it up,
something that's
please?
available. Yeah, I'm trying to here. It's not using more permissive permissions for a duplex has not added any density to this lot, but only resulted in an oversized home. The LBNA would respectfully ask that this application be refused, as it does
Okay,
not meet
thank
the
you.
intent and purpose of the bylaws or the official plan. Thank you.
Any questions for Andy? No? Yep.
So you made mention of your opposition to the new driveway on Lake Promenade, but the applicant has submitted on slide 2, noting existing driveways, and there are 38 on Lake Promenade. How did they get there?
They are not on corner lots. There are corner lots that are different than driveways going on to Lakefront Promenade. In the official plan, to the best of my knowledge, whenever you have a corner lot, you have the driveway going on to the less used roadway, in this case 38th Street.
Understood, but
That's the situation right now, and that's what it should stay.
noted, but there are a few here that are corner that seem to be also having their driveway off Lake Promenade, so I just wanted to note that, and I'm interested in, were they pre the Long Branch guidelines, or are you aware of any background to
I'm looking at the map we showed you, and you know the immediate context. There's 2 lots, so I mean it's 50% with one in the other. In the broader context, it's I think it was 68% have parking in the back. Yes, 17 out of 25 lots, corner lots, have rear yard parking in the broader context.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I'll ask Mr. Romano to come back for the rebuttal.
Yes, thanks, Steph, for unmuting me. Thank you, Mr. Chold and Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to respond. I'll first deal with the driveways and the Long Branch character neighborhood, our neighborhood character guidelines. The proposal completely complies with those guidelines. The 3.4, where it talks about driveways and garages, it says, integrate the design of driveways and surface parking areas within the parcel with consideration for associated landscaping and screening elements, as well as the design and layout of the associated dwelling. Minimize the width of the driveway and the length of the curb cut, and that's exactly what's being done here. Keep in mind that what is being proposed here is just the parking. There is no integral garage, and the Long Branch neighborhood guidelines, character guidelines, are more concerned about what happens when an integral garage forms part of the dwelling, and how does that influence the design, and how does that how does that present itself in the streetscape. That is not what is happening here. The dwelling itself is low profile, it's 2 stories, and contrary to Mr. Chold's comments, the building length is less than 17 meters. The building depth is less than 17 meters. Those are both permitted, whether it's a detached dwelling or a duplex. The side yard setback, if we can go, thanks for bringing this up, staff. If we go to slide number, we go up a couple of slides to the site plan slide, please. Site plan, correct, excellent, thank you. The east side yard setback, actually at the front of the dwelling, that's where the variance is, because as we move towards the back, it's closely approaching the 3 meters that's required. And on this site plan, if we had the garage off to the back, or I'll just deal with the back, we have a city tree that's going to be affected, and we have a significant hedge along the side of the subject site, as well as to the back of the neighboring house on 38th Street. For someone backing out of that garage onto 38th Street with that hedge on the neighboring property has no visibility. That is unsafe. I have since I was in high school, so I'm going on 40 years now, bike along Lake Promenade. That's how I get into Toronto from Mississauga. I use the local streets, and Lake Promenade is where I bike. Mr. Choll's or Ms. Mercado's photographs of Lake Promenade show how people bike along that street. They don't bike along the curb. They bike along the middle of the side of a lane. And this property, even if we compare it to other properties on Lake Promenade, has a 36-foot, 11-meter boulevard. That provides for ample visibility, and that is compared to what is a typical boulevard, which is just over 3 meters. So this is a significant boulevard that's located from private property to the Lake Promenade right of way. So there is no interference with visibility. There's no impact. The prevailing parking solution along Lake Promenade is driveways. They may be parking pads, and they may lead to integral garages, and they are above grade. And that is exactly what is being proposed in this instance. So I would submit that what is being proposed here does indeed fit in appropriately, creates no unacceptable adverse impact, and transportation has not raised any concerns regarding either Lake Promenade or the location of the parking space. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, we'll take it into committee then. Any discussion? No? I think if someone's ready for a motion, we'll entertain that.
I'd like to move a motion for approval. I believe the application meets the 4 tests and subject to the planning and the forestry conditions.
Seconder? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gully. All in favor? Okay. We have approval, unanimous approval.
Thank you, God. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, item 24, 33 DELMA Drive. This is an application to construct a 1-story south side addition and a new deck. There are 4 variances being requested. Planning is requesting a condition of approval, and forestry is requesting 2 conditions, 1 and 2. And Belinda Jones, in person or online?
Online.
Hi, actually virtually.
Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. So, good afternoon. So I am presenting on behalf of the homeowners. My name is Belinda Jones, and acting on behalf of the owners of 33 DELMA Drive. I believe the variances
Can we just
are
get
minor.
can we just get your address? Is it 159
159 Martin Street in Milton.
Martin? Okay, I got it wrong. Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you can just give us a brief overview.
Okay, the first 2 variances are minor, a slight increase to the coverage and a slight increase to the floor area, and that really has to do with the fact that the addition is aligning the corners of the house to provide for a small addition to the kitchen. Variance 3 and 4 relate to the already technical, as it's a corner site where DELMA Street is considered the main entrance, although that's considered the side yard and the front yard, and on Etham there's no access that way. So the request is to reduce the front yard setback to allow for the addition and to increase or to decrease the front yard setback for a deck, to allow for a small deck on the off the kitchen. I believe it's in conformance with the intended purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaws.
Okay, thank you. And there are no other speakers?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Any questions for the applicant? No? So we'll take it into committee then. If anyone's ready for a motion.
Sure. I believe this application is very straightforward. As such, I move a motion for approval, subject to the planning and forestry conditions.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. 25, 33 Larson Avenue. This is an application to construct a second-story addition above the existing dwelling and a two-story west side addition. There are 6 variances being requested. Planning has 2 conditions of approval requested. And Jamie Sabo, online.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairperson and members of the committee.
Good afternoon.
It's Jamie Sabo of the Design Pros, agent for 33 Larstone Avenue.
Okay, I don't think we need a full presentation here. Are you open just to doing questions, or did you want to do a
Yes,
brief
that's
overview?
fine.
Okay. Any questions? No questions. Okay, and there are no other speakers, just to confirm?
That is correct.
Okay, super. So let's take it into committee.
Mr. Chairman, what we have before us in this application are 6 variances, one relating to FSI, small FSI request for increase, required front yard setback from 9.87 to 7.9. Again, very modest, no impact on anyone either side. Height variance 9.5 to 9.71. And permitted height on the main walls 7 to 8.39, dealing specifically with architectural elements. And the last has to do with the pedestrian entrance as well as the platform in the second story. I believe all the variances that are being requested should be authorized. I recommend that they be authorized. They are minor. They do meet the intended purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, appropriate for the development of the site. I move approval subject to the planning conditions of January the 27th, as stated by planning, tying it to the elevations of the December 12th plan on file.
Thank you, Mr. Gully. Seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Dalton, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Do one more before a break. Item 26, 10 WOODMERE Crescent. This is an application. Oh, okay, so it's down to the 3 of us. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage and a cabana in the rear yard. There are 7 variances being requested. Planning is requesting 2 conditions of approval in the event of approval. TRCA is stating that they are fine. Ravine has advisory comments. We have 2 letters of support, and we have a couple of letters of concern / objection or requesting for deferral from the neighbors. And our speaker, next page, Jim.
You know, if you're walking down that street, the character isn't going to change. It's going to go right in front of this house.
Sorry, having a hard time hearing you.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear you now? Can we get your name and address, please?
Yeah, I'm Jim Pfeffer from 95 St. Clair Avenue West.
Okay. I think we would like a presentation on this, given that we have quite a few people to speak to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy to be speaking about this proposal today. I'm here with both the client and the arborist for the project, as well as the client's lawyer who submitted some correspondence to the committee earlier. So if the committee has any questions from them, they're here. So looking at this front elevation, there's a couple of things that I'd like to point out. So it is a wide house, but the house that's being proposed here is actually 2 meters narrower than the house that's on the lot right now. We are asking for a height variance, but that height variance is for this hip roof, which recedes in perspective from all sides. So that's not very impactful. And also, as you can see, the roof plane is actually set in from the sidewall, considerably from what it would be if this roof had a conventional projecting eave. So both of those things reduce the impact of the massing of this roof. And I'd also point out there aren't any dormers or any other features which bring up the massing of the building into the roof. So on the next page, you can see what we're showing. That red hatched area, that's the footprint of the existing house. And you can see that that's a real anomaly in this area and along this block because it's set so far back behind the houses on either side. So that red line, dashed line on top, that's the average front yard setback line. And you can see we're bringing the house forward, but it's still actually well back from that line. So what we're doing is we're bringing the house forward so it's in line with that house to the east on the left. And what we're doing as well, we're keeping the new driveway in the footprint of the existing driveway. And that makes us want to keep this house a little bit closer to that house to the east, where we're getting a side yard setback variance. And as well, we're continuing this basically side yard to side yard condition between the two houses. And at the narrowest point, there's going to be 5 meters between those two houses. So by asking for the variance here, we keep that driveway alignment. And we also, if you go back to the next page, the earlier page, you can see we're allowing more space on the other side where there are existing trees between the two houses. And that condition of wider side yards is actually more prevalent along those pie-shaped lots along the cul-de-sac. We are asking for an aggregate side yard setback variance, but it's only for a very small portion of the front corner of the house, because as you can see, for most of this property, we actually greatly exceed the requested aggregate side yards. So on the next page, you see that dashed line showing the average side yard setback along this block. You can see that we're actually back from that. And on the page after that, you can see at the front of the existing house, looking to the east, looking to the west, how far back from the houses on either side this house is. So in bringing it forward, we're creating that street wall alignment, which is really what the zoning bylaw is asking us and intending to do. On the next page, you'll see the extensive screening on this lot, both to the golf course to the rear and to the lots on either side. So there's certainly no privacy or overlook concern to what we're doing. The footprint of all of the amenity space in the back, the pool, the terrace, the walkways, all of that is within the footprint of the existing house or within the footprint of the existing hardscape. And none of the trees that you see in the back here are being removed as a result of this application. On the next page in particular, if you look at the bottom left on the next page, you'll see there's 10 Woodmere, this property on the left, which you can see has this forest behind it. And that's not actually a condition that's present for the other houses more to the east. Going on to the next page, you'll see variances that have been granted in this neighborhood. Those side yard setback variances very commonly granted. Variances as well for lot coverage and FSI. And we don't need either one. There's a base FSI requirement of 0.45 or 0.375. So well below what's permitted. And then in the few pages after that, we've just got some photos of the substantial houses on wide lots that are prevalent in this neighborhood. And I think the style of our house is very much in keeping with what you see here. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Before we go to other speakers, are any questions of the agent? No? Okay, so I think everyone's in person. Is anyone online?
Yes, so we have, so like they were saying, Wesley and Brendan, they're just presenting with Jim. So we have 3 people that are supposed to be in person.
Okay.
Is there a David Horton here? Yes, he can come up.
Actually, I wouldn't mind. Oh, sorry, he's an immediate neighbor. So yeah, let's have him go first. Absolutely. Good afternoon. Is there a button there?
Hi, I'm
Perfect.
David Horton.
Okay.
Definitely on now. So that was a good presentation. There's a lot that I disagreed with, but I'm not sure that it's horribly relevant. Number one, when you look at that house, it's beautiful. I'm really happy that that type of home is being built, but it's not at all in keeping with anything else even close on the street today. And regarding the side yard setbacks that were mentioned as well, our street is known for the side yard setbacks. It's part of what gives the street its appeal. So a violation of a side yard setback, in my view, is enormous. In this case, so you can see, so that's my house on the right. And I think it's great that the house is being taken forward. It's got a big, huge front yard, which is sort of wasted space. They want to have a big backyard, and that's great. So they're moving it right up, smack right beside mine. So what you can see from my western wall there, I have 4 above grade windows, bird's eye view of the top of the court. It's fantastic. I look right across the driveway and right across the front lawn, and I see the house next door at number 12. I see the whole house in its entirety. I see number 9. I see part of number 7, sorry, number 11 and part of number 9. It's a beautiful view. So now when you take the house forward, I'm going to look, all 4 windows above grade are going to look smack into a wall. There'll be 0 visibility of the street or anything else. So I understand there's no bylaw requirement, so I have to deal with that. Not a problem. But where I take issue is that the structure is being moved a half a meter closer to my house. So the side yard setback is going from 2.4 required to 1.6 or whatever the numbers are. So it's a 0.6 variance. That's 25%. So for me, 25% of the variance is significant. The height of the house, the variance there is only about 8%. So that's pretty normal. That's pretty good. But the 2 feet between me and my neighbor's house, I think it's huge. And what happens is, so now I have, my light levels will be, especially on the main level and upstairs, will be much, much darker. I'll have no view of the street. They're taking down 3 trees in between our properties. So Jim was talking about, no trees are being taken down on the golf course side. Terrific, there's already a forest back there. But the 3 that are being taken down are the only 3 trees that exist between my house and the house next door. The others are all, on the front or in the back. So then you add the height variance and bringing the whole structure much closer to me by 2 feet. It's going to really change the light. I don't get to look at a tree when I look at the windows on the side, and I don't get to see any of the street anymore. So side yard setbacks, I think they should be taken seriously. I look at a couple of the beautiful homes in the street. The bigger the side yard setbacks, the better they look. Here, the front is only 85. 85 feet is the frontage. So 2 feet is significant to cut off on the side yard. So for me, the number one problem with the build is, why do they have to make the house wider? It's already probably the widest home on the street. And while they say it's going to be narrower, I guess technically speaking, it'll be narrower, but the existing home is huge. It was originally built in '64, and it was, and probably still is, the biggest home on the street. So it's going to be a bigger home than the existing home, for sure. Side yard setback isn't required.
Okay, so I'm going to try to sum up kind of what your concerns are, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I think your primary concern is the east yard setback, which is next to your house, and the required is 2.4, and I believe they're asking for 1.8.
1.8, yes.
So
Plus-
that is your principal concern.
Yes, the 0.6
for sure.
meters variance, 24 inches.
Understood. And the other side, the west side, I get that it's really just a pinch point because of the shape of the yard, but yours is not because of the property lines are parallel there. It's not.
Yes, correct.
So it'll be felt more on the east side than it will on the east side.
It'll be felt totally on the east side because every window, so we have 5 in total, including in the basement, but I won't count that one, but 2 in the main level, 2 upstairs.
Understood.
We're looking 100% at a wall, nothing but a wall, because the front of their home is lining up at the front of our home, and my windows.
Which is the normal street pattern in most
Yes,
of Toronto.
and
but
I think it's great they're moving it forward. I think the project overall is fantastic.
Okay.
They're building the dream home, and that's what they should do. Just respect the
We
side
get
yard
it.
variance.
Okay, thank you. Do either of you have any questions? No? Okay, thank you, sir.
Great, thank you very much.
Could I get Taylor to come up next? He's, I believe, that's at number 12. So they're the other immediate neighbor, right?
So I'm not Taylor. My name is
Okay.
Liam Valgertson, but
I was going to ask you.
I represent the Teal family, and I'm here today with Taylor and
Okay.
with.
So you represent the people at 12 Woodmere.
That's correct. And
Sorry, can you just state your name again?
yes, Liam Valgertson.
Thank you.
And with the panel's permission, if we could split our time, just so Taylor can make a few personal comments about the property, that would be appreciated.
We could do that, but it's going to be still limited to the 5 minutes.
Understood. So we continue to rely on our January 30th letter, which we submitted outlining my client's request to defer this application. They do not oppose the application, but they worry about the cumulative impact of the variances on the trees located on both properties. My clients want to be cooperative, and they believe that through further consultation, a solution that can be reached that's satisfactory to everyone while preserving the 2 prominent trees in the applicant's front yard. Given the applicant's letter in response to our written submissions, I just want to make a few very brief points about the minor variance tests, particularly whether the variances are desirable for the use of the land and whether they are minor. And so when assessing that, we consider the character of the neighborhood, which I understand Taylor is going to speak a little bit more to, but it includes the tree canopy and large mature trees. So while most of the proposed built area is within the as-of-right building envelope, the cumulative effect of the variances is the unnecessary loss of 2 healthy white oaks in the front yard, which are outside the as-of-right front yard setback line. Regarding the trees on my client's property, according to our arborist, the encroachment by excavation into the tree protection zones of the trees 9 and 11, shown on the TPP, along with the excavation depth of the walkway, presents a medium risk to tree 9 and a high risk to tree 11. Specifically, tree 11 may suffer significant root loss, jeopardizing its survival. So taken together, the loss of 2 prominent trees and the potential harm to my client's trees is neither minor nor desirable, and furthermore, the result is not in keeping with the character of the area and is not in the public interest. So my clients believe the trees can be protected through very minor adjustments to the plans. For example, purely as an example, reducing the encroaching walkways or pulling them back. So since trees 7 and 8 are outside the foundation overdig area, the applicant should make every effort to preserve them, and they should implement our arborist's recommendations to protect my client's trees. And finally, the applicant has not provided a landscape plan, and while I appreciate they're not required to, considering Urban Forestry's comments that a significant tree replacement replanting plan will be required, a landscape plan might just alleviate some of my client's concerns relating to a loss of privacy, shade, and greenery. So we recognize that tree removal and injury require permits, and my clients will participate in that process if it's necessary, but we feel that more can be done, and in the meantime, we respectfully ask the committee to allow more time for discussions between the neighbors, and hopefully this can all be resolved by the next meeting. So those are all my comments, and I'd like to turn it over to Taylor to make a few comments about the character of the area.
Okay, so before we do that, I'll note that you've got two minutes left. You're formally requesting a deferral of this item.
Correct.
Okay. Do you want to take a vote on that?
Chair, I don't think we would entertain a deferral request from
At this point,
at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I forgot that that was on the, yeah.
I had a couple of questions of the representative. You're aware of the fact that urban forestry has imposed a couple of conditions on the conditions 2 and 3.
Yes.
Are you confident enough that the urban forestry department at the city has urban forestry top of mind, and that's their main goal? Do you trust them to do the right thing in terms of ensuring that the applicant, should he get approval, abide with all the regulations of urban forestry and the conditions that they're imposing, like 2 and 3?
Well, look, we appreciate that we'll, especially to the trees on my client's property, that we'll get a chance to participate in that process if it comes to that. Regarding the 2 trees on the applicant's property, we feel that it can be taken care of now, and we feel that through minor adjustments, those 2 trees can be preserved. And we understand that urban forestry is going to have the ultimate final say on that.
Okay. And as far as the 7 variances, is there any one variance that you take exception to, or you're fine with the variances?
I mean, look, variances considered in isolation, sure, they all seem mostly fairly minor. We're saying that the cumulative impact, when it's considered all together, unnecessarily results in the loss of these 2 trees.
That was my point, because at the beginning of your presentation, you indicated the fact that cumulatively, perhaps, there may be some impact. Is there some impact, even considering them cumulatively?
Well, we would say the cumulative impact is the loss of those 2 trees, trees 7 and 8, and the harm to tree 11, particularly on my client's
Okay, so
property.
it relates to urban forestry. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So all of your concerns essentially boil down to the trees?
Correct, yeah.
You don't have any objections to the build or the massing or anything like that?
Again, we're looking at it as a total. The application looks nice. My clients appreciate that something will get built here, and they want to work with the neighbors on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
2 minutes to your client.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Hello, committee members. My name is Taylor Teal, and I have been a resident at 12 Woodmere Court for over 20 years. I moved here when I was 3 years old. I have several concerns with the development plans at 10 Woodmere Court. First, obviously, as we've talked about, the removal of majestic oak trees, which through multiple variances impacts the character of Woodmere Court. Second, the injury of trees on my parents' property. And third, the lack of landscape plan or replanting plan that will mitigate the adverse impacts of the development. The character of Woodmere Court should be preserved rather than altered by the removal of its mature oak trees and other mature trees that provide the neighborhood with valuable urban canopy and maintain its diverse ecosystem where you can hear the call of a blue jay or other birds in the trees. The plans provided by the owner of 10 Woodmere Court seeks multiple permits to remove mature trees, including healthy white oaks that are over 100 to 150 years old. The plans also call for permits to injure over a dozen other trees on the property and neighboring properties, which our arborist has raised concerns about. As a recent graduate of the Environmental Public Health Master's Program at the University of Toronto, I know that urban forests offer numerous benefits to residents. They provide clean air, they filter out water pollutants, they capture and slow down rainfall in the event of stormwater runoff, which we all know has been an increasingly common natural disaster for the city. Large mature trees like the oaks at 10 Woodmere also capture carbon. They moderate the effects of the urban heat island, and they provide health benefits including increasing lifespan, reducing the risk of obesity, high blood pressure, and asthma, and develop strong social capital and better mental health. This is an important health benefit as my parents enter their senior years. I asked this committee to defer, although I don't know what you guys want to do there, on the application to allow time for the applicant to consult with their neighbors on how to hopefully preserve and protect the trees that we're concerned about. Even my neighbors at 10 Woodmere Court have recognized the valuable characteristics of these mature trees, and I understand they were drawn to the area because of the beautiful trees and woodlands and even expressed a desire to maintain the natural elements on the property. Unfortunately, the development plans require multiple variances. They do not preserve these natural elements. They negatively impact trees on 8 and 12 Woodmere Court, all for the purposes of adding unnatural hardscape features. As members of our community, we have a responsibility to protect, maintain, and continue to grow the diverse natural ecosystem we all call home, and the development is not on par with the city's goals to grow the
Okay, I'm going to cut you off now. Thank you very much. We usually don't let two people represent one property, so you're stretching it already.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Come back. We have questions as well. So essentially, your concern is around trees. Do you understand that the as-of-right building envelope, which may include trees, they can remove those trees as of right?
Yes, I understand, but it's their walkway, sir, that is encroaching upon multiple trees.
Okay, but you're talking about, the general loss of tree canopy, and I just wanted to distinguish the difference between those trees which are within an as-of-right building envelope versus those which are not.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from anyone else? I'll have the agent come back for a rebuttal, please. I'm assuming there's no one else to speak?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute him.
Yep.
Just having some technical difficulties. Jim, can you hear me? I'm having trouble adding your other line. Jim,
Hello?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm just having trouble adding your other one, so just continue on your cell phone.
Yeah, we had a little bit of technical trouble. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
If you could quickly take a look at page 10 of my booklet, I just want to discuss this issue about the character of the street and the trees. So on page 10 there, you can see a view looking down Woodmere Court towards this property. And you can see it is in fact very treed. However, absolutely none of those trees that you can see in this photo are going to be impacted by this proposal. In particular, any of the trees in front of our client's property. So those 6 really generous stems that you see on the kind of left-hand side of this image, those are the trees that are being preserved in front of beside the existing driveway. And those trees, effectively coming down the street, obscure the changes that you're going to see in the front yard here. And as the chair, I think, has said, the tree removals in the front are as of right. The neighbor at number 12 has sent in an arborist report, sending recommendations for what can be done to better preserve the trees on their property. And moving the house where we put it is to better preserve those trees. And we're really happy to follow those recommendations and go through the urban forestry process. Now, to speak to the concern about the side yard, to start out with, let's take a look at page number 4 of our booklet. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that is number 8 Woodmere. And that's the neighbor who's expressed the concern that we're both moving the house forward, which we are, but we're moving the house forward in the way that the bylaw intends to achieve that street, that street wall alignment. And that will impact his view at the side of his house. But, we're doing exactly what the bylaw intends. That wall is westerly facing, and there's going to be 5 meters at the narrowest point between that house and the house that we're proposing. So that kind of southwesterly, alignment of that wall, and plus that pretty substantial distance between the two houses, is going to allow generous amounts of light to get to those windows. Yes, the view from those windows is going to be impacted because right now they're beside a driveway, but the bylaw doesn't intend to have that really deep, long driveway going so far into this lot. It's much better to have that shorter driveway closer to the street, which is what we're doing. So if you take a look at the site plan, you can see this is page 2 of our booklet. You can see the dashed line of that really long driveway, which we're replacing, which is kind of replacing that driveway is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Unfortunately, that's going to be an impact to the view out of the windows at number 8. But still, we're allowing that 1.8 meter setback. You see variances like that along the neighborhood in Edenbridge Drive and some of the other golf course lots here. We list those variances that have been granted in our sort of map of the variances. There is going to be an impact. I don't think that impact is different from what the bylaw intends, and I don't think this extra 60 centimeters in that over 5 meter space is really going to be significantly impactful of his views and light. And the other thing he mentioned, trees between the houses. I think, honestly, and we do have an arborist here who can speak to this if you like, but those trees that are being impacted and removed are on this property, and just removing the existing house, to my mind, the arborist can speak to this as well. Those removals are both as of right, and I think they would happen as a consequence of demolition of the existing house anyways, because the existing house is so close to those trees in question. So I'm happy to take any questions.
I want to come back to the side yard setback. So essentially, you're providing almost a 6-foot setback, whereas the bylaw requires an 8, or you're going 1.8 meters, so you're 1.6 short of the bylaw requirement.
We're 0.6 short.
0.6, sorry,
2.4 and we're 1.8.
Yeah.
So 2, yeah.
And that's for the full
60 centimeters.
that's for the full length of the house. It's not a pinch point situation. It's the full length, correct?
It is the full length of the house. One thing I would kind of point out is that in moving the house forward, you know, that existing house, which is at about 2.4 right now, but the existing house is beside the backyard of the neighboring house. And I think actually having this new house beside his house instead of beside his backyard is actually an improvement. But yes, it is for the full length of the house. Oh, I can't, I'm afraid I can't hear you.
No one online will hear me.
Test. Okay, I think we're back up.
Hello? Yeah, we're back.
Hello, test, yeah. Okay, we're back.
We're back.
Okay, no
Well-
Timbits for you. Sorry, I'm not sure how much you heard of my first part, but I think you've answered the
I
first.
didn't hear any of that.
Okay. My second question was going to be if you had examples of what the average setbacks are in that neighborhood.
Oh, hold on. I don't have any examples of the average setback.
Or just
do-
examples of other setbacks, like just give me an immediate context.
Yeah, I know I did take a walk through the neighborhood and I saw other examples. Like I think if you take a look at page 9, you can see that 35 Edenbrook Hill is fairly close to the neighboring house, and not super close. And the same with 17 Edenbrook Hill. You know, it's impossible to tell.
Okay,
from
but
this
you
photo
haven't
exactly
you haven't
what
reviewed
the-
you haven't reviewed committee decisions to give us a list or anything like that then.
I certainly have. So if you take a look at page 7, there is a list of committee
Okay.
decisions. And so you can see the variances that have been granted. Now in that side setback column, there's 2 types of setbacks. There's setbacks from the minimum, which is 2.4
Okay, sorry,
meters.
what page is this? Oh, it's up on the
Page 7.
I got
And
it.
there's a table there of side yard setback variances.
I want to try to find it on my own file because I can't see that on the. So this is part of your
Yeah, there's a map there, and on the map as well, there's a table, and the table shows side yard setback variances.
Okay, I got it now.
Oh yeah, so we're 2.4 is the minimum. We're asking for 1.8. You can see 5 Woodmere. The minimum was 2.45, and it's got 2.4. Edenbrook Hill got a variance number 5 for the minimum aggregate side yard setback variance.
Yeah, I'm more looking at the actual, like the raw
Yeah,
setback.
so, and then on Edenbrook Hill, there are 30, 45. There's one 1.8, there's one 1.5 at 52 Edenbrook Hill. And then along the Kingsway there's 2 1.5s as well for
Okay.
variances that were granted. So it's not, 1.8 meters, it's a pretty generous setback.
I would be, yeah, 1.8 is a generous setback, but it depends on the context of the neighborhood that you're talking about, and that's why I wanted to get immediate examples. So I've got that. Thank you. Dominic?
Just a couple of questions. First of all, I found the application in terms of planning the site and designing it very enjoyable. I can't say that I enjoy all the applications that come before us, but I did enjoy reviewing this application relative to the variances that are being requested. And the one thing that stood out to me is what some of the speakers raised was the fact that why couldn't the side yard be met, or at least an attempt to be made to try to get as close as possible to that 2.4, particularly because the house is so wide. Beautifully designed home, and our purpose here is not to comment on the design or the architecture or anything else. I'm speaking with respect to the 7 variances that are being requested. So in that respect, the one thing that did stand out to me was that side yard setback. I know that it doesn't sound like a lot, and the examples that you referred to aren't necessarily homes that are that wide from the street when you're walking along the street. So is there any wiggle room whatsoever in terms of trying to increase that side yard setback of 1.8? That's my question. Substantively, it doesn't change a lot. I know what you're saying in terms of sunlight. I know what you're saying in terms of the fact that there may be some, not necessarily identical to this lot configuration, but why not try to come up with something that's a little bit more amenable? Again, in view of the fact that the structure that's being proposed is so wide, is there any wiggle room to try to increase that side yard? The wall for the neighbor is perhaps a foot or half a foot farther away. Does it make a difference? Not necessarily, but it helps.
So, Mr.
You know, I mean, was that a question or?
I guess it's a question as to whether you'd be amenable to changing the design to improve that east side setback.
So at this point, though, Mr. Chair, there's no room for revisions. We're in rebuttal. So the committee can either consider the application the way it is, or you could refuse that variance.
Or we can refuse that variance.
Or change it.
Or change it.
The problem with changing is you don't have the plans, whereas a straight.
If those plans were to be submitted by Monday or Tuesday, no.
Thank you. I mean,
thank you.
I think that the house could be made, 2.1. I think we could shift and adjust the house to make that work. And that's just changing a number. I mean, I think we could imagine what would happen to the plans.
Yeah, but would you be creating a variance on the other side?
We would not, because because we're well beyond that
Okay.
2.4 on the other side. There's the aggregate issue. We'd have to, think about how that might impact the trees. So, and of course we have, forestry conditions. So
Yep.
of course, any impact that would have on the trees would be subject to oversight. But if we move things over to make that 2.1, so it would be what I think would be a truly minor variance of 0.3, I'm sure we can make that work. And I think we can all imagine that it's not really changing the plan that's in front of the committee very
That's
much.
fair. Let me come back to our Deputy Secretary Treasurer. Just we haven't gone into committee yet. I mean, we're still asking questions. I mean, at this point, could we not ask the applicant to change one of the variances? I know we don't have the drawings.
So the applicant can't make revisions in a rebuttal, but you can make a decision based on the variances before you.
To deny that variance if you want.
But we can't approve it at 2.1.
I mean, that gets really tricky.
I mean, I understand you have to resubmit drawings, but, the drawings for building permit are not, at this point, being done anyway. It's not, we're improving a situation, we're not making it worse.
The question is, are they shifting the house or are they cutting the house?
No.
Because if they're shifting the house, it could impact the trees that are all along the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know if he said he's cutting the house or he could cut the house, right?
Yeah, and I don't think the other neighbor would appreciate the shifting of the house.
I know, but that's what I mean. When you don't
Yeah.
have the plans that reflect that, just modifying it and not having the full.
We're trying to save the applicant from coming back with a second application for one variance, but that's
Nevertheless,
the
we're
dilemma.
still going to lose the treatment.
That's an as of right situation.
It is.
So just to summarize then, if we choose to approve this, it would have to be 6 variances only. We can't do a modification to that one variance.
You could try. My question is, though, are they shifting the house to get that same space?
Well, can we ask that question of the applicant?
Because you also don't know if they're just, if you're keeping the floor space index the same, are they then going to put that somewhere else in the site?
Well,
But they haven't.
but we don't know
have
how
those numbers.
we don't know how much we would have to reduce the FSI to correspondingly deal with that. So that's not a.
I know, but what I mean is you're looking at reducing potentially the width of the house by 1 foot over 2 floors.
Yeah. That's
If the corresponding GFA isn't amended, they could potentially put that anywhere.
Indeed, it changes variance 1. Yeah, because obviously we're not going to keep that 34%. Sorry, the 44% at 758 square meters. It will reduce 2. So it involves two variances being amended or adjusted.
Yeah, and we don't know the numbers for all of them. So no, or accept with minus 1 variance. Right? Yes.
But at least they'll know what to focus on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
Are
then
we
at that
discussing
point,
it as
you're not
committee now?
redesigning their house, right?
Are we discussing
I
it
think
as a
we're in
committee?
committee now.
Okay.
Unless there's any other questions, because I don't
have any other questions.
No, then let's move on.
So, I was hoping that perhaps through goodwill or other, that side yard could have been increased. I don't think the reduction or the increase in the side yard that I'm asking for will make any material change other than seeing it on the numbers. Other than changing the numbers materially, I don't think it's going to change. When you're there, physically standing there, you're not going to really see that difference. So, Chair, that's my comment to the rest of the panel.
I think the neighbor who is the most affected by that side yard setback will notice the difference.
A foot is a foot.
It's 2 feet.
Well, it's 2 feet, but the compromise that we were trying to get to was splitting the difference.
So 3 options. What are them?
So your options are to refuse. Your options are to accept. I don't think we want to defer after going into the amount of detail we've gone into. I guess we could defer, but I don't believe the applicant would be happy with that. Or perhaps they would be over getting a refusal for one of their variances. I mean, that's the 4th option, is to accept 6 variances and refuse 1. They'd still have to come back again with a new fee. If you defer, then
I think the difficulty in deferring when you've heard everyone speak is that there's no guarantee that when it comes back, and most likely you will not have the same panel. And you could have different members that have different concerns.
Yes. Well, the neighbors will have the same concern.
The neighbors will, but the panel members could have a different viewpoint. So you've already heard everything today.
So,
I don't
Chair,
think it should be deferred.
I still feel that even though we could have assisted in this matter, I don't think we can. But I still feel that substantively adding a little bit to the side yard is, in my view, not going to make that great of a difference that you can actually feel the difference, even if you're standing there. And I know we're talking a little bit more than a foot. So I'm prepared to make a motion, Chair.
Sure.
Chair, I've reviewed the application before us, and I've carefully reviewed the 7 variances. And even though I had some concerns with respect to variance 2 in my initial review, at the end of the day, I felt that perhaps that could have been shortened sideways, not necessarily to create that variance, but is it minor? In my view, it's minor. Are the other variances minor? In my view, they are minor. Individually and collectively, is it a minor application that's before us? I believe that it is. The application meets the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. It's minor in my view. These variances are desirable in my view. I'm going to move approval subject to forestry conditions.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
And the planning conditions, Chair.
Yeah, 2 planning conditions. Do we have a seconder?
Planning conditions of January 22nd. Forestry and planning conditions of January 22nd.
Yeah, I mean, those are
Which
basically
adds a
just
little protection.
the 2 planning conditions just, I believe, deal with bird-friendly
Yep.
treatments for windows and lights. I'm not going to second that, so it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by the fact that sorry, I'm not mic'd. I'm encouraged by the fact that most of the contention seems to be around the tree canopy. And there's really nothing to be done about that, because if they want to move the house forward, they have no choice but to cut down some trees. And I think urban forestry has addressed this, so I am going to second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? And opposed? So it's carried, it's approved. So that was Dom, and can somebody get the rest of the panel?
Did you?
Oh, we're going to take a break. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's do the 10-minute break.
So we can resume at 3?
Yeah.
I'd just like to remind anyone that's here in this call for the 3 p.m. session. We are currently still on the 1 p.m. session, so we will still have to finish out the 1 p.m. session. So after break, we'll return to that.
Thank you very much.
Are you on the list? Yeah, I was registered. Yeah, okay.
Non-stop eating today.
Do we have microphones? Okay.
We will be resuming shortly.
Got to turn it on. Okay, welcome back. We're on item 27, A and B now. Laura, do you have your mic on? So, yeah, because I'm hearing myself in my right ear, sorry. So this is 2236 Jane Street, and this is an application to obtain consent to sever the lot into two lots and to create various easements and rights of way. The associated item, which 27B, is to construct a 31-story apartment building with a 9-story podium, which will require two variances. We have requests from ECS, the usual conditions of severance, and we have a letter of concern, and I think we have no other comments.
Hello,
Welcome.
Mr. Chair. Charlie Smith, agent for the applicant at 3 Church Street, Suite 200, and I represent Greenboard Holdings, Inc. And as you mentioned, it's a joint consent and minor variance application.
And I think if you could do a bit of a presentation for us.
For sure. If the committee could put the presentation up, that's perfect. So just want to address at the outset the letter of objection. It was from a resident who was a bit concerned about the loss of the park land in front of the site. I just want to clarify that this portion of the subject site on the far east extent fronting Jane Street was approved in 2022 through two site-specific bylaws at the OLT for the approval of the 31-story building. So the reason for the consent application is to sever the lot, as it will be a future condominium. So that is needed for construction financing and for creating a future draft plan of condominium. And the minor variances pertain to horizontal encroachments in the front yard. So on this slide here, you can see the rendering on the left side. It's the approved building envelope. I'd like to reiterate there are no changes to the envelope or setbacks, which have already been approved by the OLT. And then on the right side of the image is the zoning schedule that's in the site-specific bylaw. If we go to the next slide, so this is a diagram. Oh, did we lose?
I apologize.
We're good still.
Yeah, you can still continue.
I've lost the screen.
The screen has been thrown down.
Oh, so I can't ask questions now either then. Okay.
Okay. Everything was going so well.
We're just having some technical difficulties. Please stand by. Thank you very much.
Freezing rain started?
Well, the mics work.
Oh, we're back.
Okay.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, may I continue?
Please.
So on this diagram here, on the far right side of the image, in the faint green, that is going to be the conveyed lot for the severance. That would support the future 31-story building. And then on the left side for the majority of the subject property, that would be the retained lot. And that has existing apartment buildings that would be retained and not impacted. Next slide, please. So the variances really pertain to accommodating accessibility ramps and staircases to access the future front lobby for the building. When the bylaw was originally drafted, in retrospect, after a zoning review, it was determined that a 3-meter provision was written in the bylaw, whereas we actually need 6 to meet OBC building code requirements. So this is essentially just to allow what should have been captured in the original bylaw. So it was a mistake or an oversight. So that is the variances we are seeking to provide stairways and accessibility ramps. And if you go to the next slide, in terms of numeric, the prior provisions were 3 meters for exterior stairs, access ramps, and elevating devices. That is being increased to 6 meters. And then the second is for the parapets, trellises, fences, and guardrails in particular that will be along that accessibility ramp. Those are being permitted up to 5 meters. So next slide, please. In terms of meeting the 4 tests, again, this is already an OLT approved building. The consent application is to facilitate the future condominium application and the severance of the lot. In terms of meeting the tests of the zoning bylaw and official plan, it maintains the intent of the apartment neighborhoods designation with a compatible built form. The purpose in the zoning bylaw, there's only the 2 encroachments that are being varied to accommodate an appropriate entryway. For permitted use of the land, or desirable use of the land rather, again, it is an already approved building. It meets the intent of the official plan and will provide new housing. And in terms of minor in nature, collectively, the variances aren't going to fundamentally change the functionality of the building. It's more of accommodating appropriate accessibility and access for the future building. And then in terms of the consent tests, we do have to have regard for the matters of provincial interest. It can be, this application can proceed by consent as opposed to a draft plan of subdivision if it's deemed to be not premature. In this respect, it's already been determined that this parcel of land will accommodate development. So we're of the opinion it is not premature in this nature and was approved through the OLT. And it has matters of for the provincial interest, such as promoting the orderly development of the lands. As I mentioned, it's not premature. We'll provide new housing in an existing apartment neighborhood, and it supports and conforms to the apartment neighborhoods designation in the official plan. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I have one.
Yes.
I have one too. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm assuming that there are no rental housing units being removed as a result of this severance?
That's correct. All the
So
apartment
why
buildings.
then do you have a rental housing demo permit as part of your material here? Or is that,
We require that whenever there are more than 6 units.
okay, but
It's a screening form.
but the units aren't being eliminated.
So it, go ahead. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
So if there is a rental housing screening form, that would have clarified that there are no rental units being demolished or altered as part of the application.
Yeah, I do see that. I just thought, why is it there? But more of a question for staff than for you, but got it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, correct. And just for committee's knowledge, there is still an active site plan application going on, which will go through further detailed design.
Assume so. Okay, thank you. Laura?
Yep, you said in your presentation that the severance was not premature. Do you have any idea of a start date at this point?
A start date for construction. At this point, we're still working through the site plan process. That would be at least like another year. And then clearing notice of approval conditions, I would say probably anywhere between 1.5 to 2 years before any physical shovels get in the ground.
Okay.
So there's still a couple years ahead of us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No? Anyone else to speak to this item?
So we have a few virtual.
Okay.
Actually, just one virtual. So we just had 2 surveyors for technical questions. So we have a Heidi Hein.
Okay. Heidi, good afternoon.
Neighbor on Arlington Crescent. And actually, this is the first house which was built here. And my question is, number one, first of all, I think we have quite enough people in the neighborhood already. Number two, will there be pylons put in the ground when the building comes up?
Okay, you can state your concerns and your questions, and then the applicant will respond in one go. It's not a back and forth process.
Okay, and can I ask another one? Where will the water and the sanitary runoff? Because this is now the 3rd time in a row I got flooded out down here. We just finished up the basement again, and I'm very uncomfortable at the moment with the building coming up because I'm very close to it. So where do I have to go and inquire about that?
We'll get back. This isn't really, not here. We're just dealing with concerns for the proposal that's before us right now. I'm trying to figure out where you reside too. I'm just trying to find you on the map.
But would you, sir, understand my concern as well? Because, I mean, all the houses and the high rises are on pylons. We're the only row here who are not on pylons. And I know there's a lot of water in the ground, or else there wouldn't have been any pylons put up in there. My house got destroyed when these pylons came in, and now I'm in trouble here.
Okay.
So I need some help somewhere.
I think you need to contact the buildings department at the City of Toronto.
Okay.
Or your local counselor to steer the issue.
Well, I'm working with him. I called him today, and like I say, I haven't got any response back, but I have to, my husband bought the house here in 1957, so I don't want to get chased out because of constantly being flooded.
Okay.
Okay. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye for now.
Bye. Okay, I'm not sure if you need to do any rebuttal there.
I mean, for the record, I can state that through the site plan application process, there would be a construction management plan that would detail any ongoing works on site, and there would be a, was it pylons? Was I mishearing?
I think she's implying that there's a water table issue there
Okay.
and that the existing buildings are actually on piers.
And in that respect, the new building obviously would have a functional servicing report and storm management water report. So those would be approved by city staff through the ongoing site plan process for their final detailed design.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, then we'll take it into committee. Done. Very good.
Any questions?
Thank you. You can sit down.
So Chair, I'm prepared to move approval of the consent, subject to the standard conditions and the associated variances. I know that development engineering in a report of October 22nd had also conditions with respect to the consent, so those apply as well. There is no report from urban forestry. So with that condition, development engineering and standard conditions for the consent, move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Gully. Seconder.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval.
Mr. Chairman, before we start,
Yeah.
the agent is present now, so we can continue with item 28.
Oh, perfect. He had 3 conflicts. Is this his third one? Yeah? Okay. I don't remember which.
I think we need to dock his pay. Too much time off.
Okay, well, I'll get Phil to confirm, but item 28 is 162 Melrose Street. Phil's back, okay. This is an application to obtain consent to sever the property into 2 undersized lots. The second part of the application, should the consent be approved, is to approve detached dwellings with an attached garage, 7 variances with 1 amended, and that would be for both of the 2 severed lots. Planning is recommending refusal. We have the usual ECS conditions of severance, and Metrolinx has advisory comments, and there are 4 letters of support. 28. Ida Evangelista. Ida, are you there?
Firstly, I would like to thank staff and Mr. Chair and members for your indulgence for standing this down for me. I greatly appreciate it. Mr. Chair, you made a comment about planning wrote a report refusal. No, there's no report of refusal. I know previously when first circulation, they wanted us to work with planning, which we did, and we made the change to the main wall height. So that's an old memorandum. That was just to telling us that they didn't want to schedule it at that time, but they're in support of the application.
Okay, no, so that would be my old note. I don't have any planning report.
Okay,
So,
I got a little nervous there, so.
Yeah, it's just whether they're ready for scheduling or not, and
Yes.
since they said they're not, I took that, I guess, as a refusal. But
Yeah.
okay, I think we're still
Okay,
going to
so-
need a full presentation on this.
Yes, no problem. The application that you have in front of you is for 162 Melrose Street. The application is to sever, creating 2 properties of equal dimensions, 15, because currently the lot is a 50-foot lot, and we are going to be creating 2 lots 7.62, Part 1, Part 2. The variances, I've gone through forestry comments because there are no trees and we will protect the neighboring trees. We are okay with those conditions. Engineering, we also worked with engineering and we are also okay with the engineering comments. So you also have in front of you, so like I said, we did work with planning. They wanted us to reduce the main wall height to 8 meters, which we did. And you have in front of you the modified list of variances stating that variance number 5 is reduced to 8 meters. Yes. We also submitted, we also did a neighbor reach out. We have 4 letters of support from the immediate neighbors at 154, 181, 183, and 185. The variances that we are asking for are the interior side yard setbacks for Part 1 on the east side and for Part 2 on the west side. However, the exterior side yard setbacks do comply. Now, the balcony that you have now, which is Part 1, variance 6, is the same for both. So the zoning examiner is counting that they're stating in their, because one of the variances that we have states that the second story rear deck will have an area of 15.6. This, in fact, is the deck on the main floor. And the reason why zoning's interpretation of this particular variance for that deck is because from the basement floor to the established grade is 1.44, because they look at the midpoint of the basement. And the midpoint of this basement from basement to the established grade is 1.44 meters. And the established grade to the underside of the ceiling is 219. Therefore, they've counted that basement as floor 1. And that's why that deck is being stated as a second story rear deck. However, it is off the main floor and it's the deck. On the second floor, it's just a Juliet balcony. There's no walkout. It's just sliders, and it's just more for appearance purposes. So the variances, now this particular neighborhood has been undergoing, a lot of regeneration. So along Melrose, Algoma, Portland, the lots now are predominantly 25 feet wide. You'll see that from 168 to 174, they're 7.62 meters. From 175 to 185, also 7.62 meters. And right behind 162 Melrose, 55 to 61 Algoma are also 7.62. So this is now what is transpiring in this neighborhood. And you can see from my building footprint, the addresses that I mentioned, you'll see that that is consistent, so it will not destabilize. It's not, what we're proposing will not destabilize the neighborhood, and it will allow for continued evolution of this neighborhood. I propose that the proposed consent is a desirable and appropriate use of the subject land and is consistent with the official plan and is a form of intensification that respects and reinforces the physical character of the neighborhood. And it is my opinion that this application meets the 4 tests. It is in keeping with the purpose and intent of the OP and the ZBL and is appropriate and desirable development for the area. And I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you.
20
Ida.
seconds to spare.
Perfect. I'm going to ask my first question then, which pertains
Yes.
to the side yard setbacks. And,
Yes.
We struggled earlier with an application where, anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but it's my favorite pet peeve here that, in my opinion, 1 foot is not a functional setback. Do you have examples of in the neighborhood that have comparable side yard setbacks other than the other soldier homes in this area?
Directly across the street, bear with me for 1 second. Okay. Directly across the street has a similar setback between 185 and 183. So when we viewed the neighborhood and 183 being a very similar, almost same as home that we're proposing, and we reviewed it with planning staff, and they too are of the opinion that this is consistent between, because it does allow for light, for air, for maintenance of the properties.
So long as no one puts a fence down the middle.
No, the fence will be at the rear of the property.
No, but I'm saying it's going to be two separate owners,
yes.
right? You don't have a right of way between the two of them. So essentially you got 1.5 feet potential separation as, functional space, which in my view is not functional for a new build. But anyway, it's my favorite pet peeve. I know planning doesn't agree, but I just want to state it.
Mr. Chair?
I want to state it on record.
Yeah, okay. I understand.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. We had that same question from a panel member. Okay. Is there any? Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Is there anyone else to speak on this item? I'm assuming not.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. We'll take it into committee then. Okay, any discussion or someone ready for a motion?
I'd like to move a motion for approval. I believe the applications meet the 4 tests, subject to, I believe it's only forestry.
I don't even see forestry, which is surprising. Is there a forestry condition?
They are. There was a problem with the numbering. So
Oh, okay,
62
okay.
Melrose, conditions 2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3, right? Yeah.
Well, because there should be for a new build, yeah. Okay, so forestry 2 and 3. So there's a motion on the floor for approval.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Alders.
It's a question, Chair. Was there also a development engineering?
Yes, there's ECS.
I think the first part related to conditions.
No, there should be conditions. It's a severance.
There's a section on advisory, but there's also a section on subject to, and I believe they related to the transportation. I don't know if I can pull it up right away.
So there's 2 reports. There's the most recent one is dated December 18th, 2024. And usually they put their conditions in the recommendation just above the advisory comments. And in this case, they just said we have no objections.
And there's 7 advisory. Yeah.
But wouldn't you need the usual conditions of severance? I mean.
Yeah, but those are standard consent
Right.
conditions.
Okay.
But there are no recommended conditions
Okay.
from engineering.
No additional conditions. Okay. Okay, do we have?
So I don't need to make a friendly amendment, is that what you're saying?
Okay, you've already seconded it, didn't you?
I did second it, so
Okay.
I'm just wondering, there's no amendment necessary, okay. All right.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, it's approved. No, I don't know. Sure. I've been convinced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we move on to item 29, so is forestry not recommending 2 and 3 for item 29? There's nothing. Okay, so that was the one that should have been for 28. Okay. Got it. A different set of numbers, yeah.
I've got 29.
Yeah.
I've got number 29 is wants all 5 variances denied, or numbers 1 and 2. What was that supposed to be attached to?
Who wants that?
Urban Forestry wants all 5 variances denied, or numbers 1 and 2. 91 Delma?
Okay, well, let's get to the item. So it's item 29 is 91 Delma Drive. Application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There were 6 variances, which have now been revised to 5. And planning has a condition of approval.
And Urban Forestry wanted all 5 variances denied, or numbers 1 and 2.
And I don't know what Urban Forestry wants at this point. I got to look it up.
Yeah, I know. It was confusing. But I think that's right.
So in this case, forestry's recommending refusal.
And refusal, yeah.
So it's just refusal.
And then they have the condition as a fallback.
Yeah.
Or
But they want all 5 variances denied, or numbers 1 and 2.
or 1 and 2, okay.
They listed all 5 variances.
Okay. This application was originally deferred from May of 2024, at which time there were 8 variances being requested. We have a letter of objection from number 71 Delma. And Mr. Franco Romano is the agent online.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the panel. Franco Romano, Action Planning, 321 Lakeshore. It is correct. Urban Forestry is recommending refusal because of a rear yard private tree, and they also have a condition of approval, and I will be speaking to that. But right off the bat, we'll see the cover page that staff has up on the screen. I'm removing the lot coverage variance number 1.
Okay.
Just I see my clock is running, so I'll just continue unless
Well,
unless you
we've reset you. You can start over.
Okay. Thanks, Kyle. If staff can bring up my slides, please. On the first slide, what I'm showing is I guess what's transpired since the deferral. So the application has been revised. Planning staff was originally opposed to a number of the variances in May, and now they have a condition of approval by virtue of the revisions that were made. And I'm happy to speak to each of the revisions, but I think I'm just going to concentrate on the requested variances. So the staff condition of approval is satisfactory, so is Urban Forestry's condition of approval. And on the right-hand side of the slide number 1, I have the public hearing notice variance numbers. So the first one, lot coverage, is being removed. The floor space index is being eliminated. Front yard setback is being eliminated. Rear yard setback is being eliminated. Building length is 18.95 meters for the lower portion of the building, so it's the basement portion. And that includes the rear deck portion. But the first floor is 15.98 meters, and the second floor ranges from 14.25 to 15.57 meters. The 18.95 meters, which is a variance, is within the permitted building depth. So that is an existing as-of-right condition, and that influences the rear tree. So this is an existing as-of-right permission, and the tree would be similarly impacted. The other 2 variances, main wall height and platform area at or above the second story, those were eliminated as well. Proposal has a building height of 9.21 meters and an eaves height of 7.24 meters. So it's being reduced quite a bit, I would say. The rear deck, I'll speak to shortly. So that is a 33 centimeter and a 50 centimeter projection or encroachment. very similar to what is permitted as of right, particularly if we look at building depth permissions. The stair and the stair width and the electric vehicle aspects were removed, and the architectural feature in the front is just a small portion beside the garage. If we go to slide number 2, please, staff. We'll see the as of right permission in green and in blue or purple. And what you'll see is the tree that is being affected is just beyond that existing permitted condition. So the tree that's being affected is being affected by the as of right. It is a larger tree, but it's going to have an impact. So the only way that that tree could be protected is basically to not allow what is permitted as of right. So we would have to have a building that is very close to what the existing building is, and that is not the intent of the private tree bylaw. Private tree bylaw does recognize that as of right construction will impact trees, and the proposal is going to have that impact, and there will be tree replacements that will be done in the backyard or in the front yard. We'll see in terms of building depth and length, it's a little longer than the property to the at the bottom of the page, opposed to what's at the top of the page, and the building is really overlapping where the garage is located in the backyard. On slide number 3, you'll see the west and east elevations, and here I have marked up how the building length manifests itself. So it is an articulated building. Comments from neighbors as well as planning staff have been incorporated into the reduced building mass, scale, size, the reduced number of variances. And I would submit that what is being proposed now is much improved and satisfies all 4 tests for a minor variance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. My first question, I guess it comes back to the same question I had to you in an earlier item. Is this a duplex or is this a detached dwelling? Because in the purpose, it says to construct a new detached dwelling. In your drawings, you have references to 1 and 2, unit 1 and unit 2. So if you could explain that.
Correct. So I actually asked the architects to identify unit 1 and unit 2 in order to give me floor areas, because there are planning policies that talk about the unit sizes, and the proposal would conform with that official plan policy. The staff can bring up the basement plan. Sorry, I need to see what number it is here. It's drawing A101. Yes, perfect. So it's a little small on my screen as I see it, but unit 1. Thank you, appreciate that. So on the right hand side, this is the front of the dwelling. So you see the unexcavated garage portion at the top. At the bottom is the basement area that's associated with the upper floors of the building and the staircase. And then you'll see the gray outline, and it is, I don't know what this shape is. I guess it's S shape. Unit 1. So it's a 1 bedroom, and what you'll see is it has individual access to the backyard. So that's how the access is located. You'll see that underneath a deck, that is where the kitchen is located. That's the lower left. And there's a dining area, there's a living area. And this one is, we've sorted out for use designs, they've sorted out where the mechanical is going to be, which is located on the right-hand side of the staircase. So this is a completely separated unit. And I think what you see is what you're gonna get at the building permit stage here. So it is a separate unit, and it is fully separated and fireproofed, and it's a duplex.
So should the purpose be changed to construct a duplex?
It can be. I have no problem doing that. The zoning bylaw does identify a detached dwelling as being able of being occupied by 2, 3, or 4 units. So I'm okay changing it. I'm okay keeping it the way it is.
Okay, I just, like, are there, if we change it to a there's no FSI variance on this one, is there?
No. So if you change that, it would be to construct a new detached duplex or a new duplex with an attached garage. That's fine.
I'd be more comfortable leaving it the way it is if the agent has indicated that there won't be an issue. The zoning review that you have in front of you does identify it as a duplex, but when we look at the plans, and that's what we base our notice on, there's no reference to the duplex. Looking at the floor plans, yes, you can see that there are units, but on the site plan, it's just calling it a detached dwelling.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of discomfort is a previous item that also Mr. Romano presented on. The basement unit was smaller than this one, yet that was considered a duplex, whereas this one, it's larger. I mean, this to me looks like it's the majority of the ground floor, and this is not considered a duplex, so.
Well, Toronto Building is identifying it as a duplex.
Okay, so should we not?
That is correct.
So if they are, should we not have provided notice to the residents that this is a duplex?
But what I'm saying, we based our description on the plans, so the plans didn't label on the site plan. It just says proposed 2-story stucco siding stone dwelling.
Okay.
So because there was no reference, we don't want, when we see multiple units in a dwelling, we don't know if they're being considered a secondary suite or a duplex. We don't want to be responsible for misidentifying something. So that's what we based our plans on. But looking at the revised zoning review that's in your package, they do label it as a duplex. So
And that inconsistency is not a problem then?
they've identified the variances, so I don't think so, and the agent seems confident, so.
Okay.
Chair, I also want to mention that in the planning report of January the 27th, 2025, planning does refer to it as they comment on a proposed, construct a new duplex.
If I may chime in just a little bit here, these were the exact same plans that the zone examiner identified their examiner's notice on. So I have no difficulty keeping it the way it is.
And there's no notice issue?
I don't think so.
And there is no notice issue. No.
As he's mentioned, it's calling a detached dwelling. It's not saying it's a single family dwelling. We do tend to prefer to let people know it's a duplex or a multiplex if that's the case. But we're going based on the information that was before us. But it's not as thorough as it could be, but it's not wrong.
Okay.
If you want the agent to change the purpose, we can do that for the minutes and the decision.
Well, I just thought it would be consistent then with what's being applied for. But we can come back to that. I just wanted to flag it now. I believe there are speakers on this on this item.
Yes, there's one.
Okay. Luigi?
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Actually, I had no intention of speaking. However,
Can we just get before you do, can we just get your name and address for the record as well?
Sure. My name is Luigi Maselli. I live at 89 Delma Drive, which is right next door to this property.
Perfect.
I think all the plans that I've seen previously showed that the basement was not going to be developed. Now, I don't know, but now it looks like it is, and it's going to be a multiple, not a single dwelling, but a duplex. So that you know, there's parking issues, there's a whole bunch of other issues, but that was kind of news to me.
Yeah, and that was my concern with
So-
the notice going out the way it is, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Maybe we can pause the speaker's time. I did check the application form that was originally submitted and the zoning review did refer to it as a dwelling. The duplex part must have changed when they got the revised zoning review. So that's why the notice is the way it is.
Okay.
There was nothing referencing a duplex at the time.
Okay, but in the past, I know that we've deferred items
Yes, you have.
to change the purpose.
Yeah.
And that's really my concern there is consistency for doing
So
that.
yes, anyone looking at the original application form or the zoning review, it did label it as a single family detached.
Even the neighbor on the phone right now.
In addition to the neighbor on the phone, as a comment, two internal reports have flagged it as a duplex. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, changing the purpose, that's to me an academic issue. The question is, if we are changing the purpose, then do we have a notice issue?
I think we do. I think we do.
Yeah. So, do we want to deal with the notice issue? Do we want to hear the rest of the neighbor? I'm not sure where we're at. Okay.
As
So-
a comment, if this neighbor had some confusion, if there's a notice issue, other neighbors might have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not that a duplex is not permitted. I mean, it's a permitted use. Yeah. So while we still have the neighbor on the line, I just want to ask the neighbor if he would be opposed to us deferring this.
You're speaking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
okay. Well, like I said, I mean, I signed up in here to see what your comments were with regards to the measurements and whatever else. If that was in compliance, I didn't really have an issue.
Okay.
However, like you said, now the basement is proposed to be finished. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else knew that as well.
Okay. No, that was basically what I wanted to know. So fair enough.
Yeah. So if you think a deferral is appropriate, I mean, I don't want to hold up progress. However, yeah, others may have objections. I don't know.
Okay. No, that's fine. And I'm going to get Mr. Romano to chime in on that.
Which
as well.
I do want to caution the neighbor, and if anyone else is listening, while, yes, we have deferred applications in the past to make it correct and to be clear, it doesn't change the fact that a duplex or a multiplex
Is permitted.
And it actually makes the variances better. So they'd only be commenting on the variances before the committee, not on the
use.
building
Yeah.
type.
Well, okay, from my perspective, if the committee sees the variances as acceptable, I don't have an issue.
Okay. We just don't know how the rest of your neighbors feel.
Yeah, I can't speak for them, so,
Yeah.
but,
Okay.
yeah, like I said, I don't want to hold back progress. If everything is in order, as the next door neighbor, I'm okay with it, but
Okay.
I cannot speak for the others.
Perfect. We got your feedback. I'm going to give Mr. Romano a chance to argue why we shouldn't defer it. So if we could bring Franco back, please.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the commentary. A detached dwelling is permitted to have 1, 2, 3, or 4 units in it. So this purpose of the application does not need to change in order to consider this application. I do note that the one letter that was submitted does refer to the plans and the owner has discussed, you know, it's been deferred since May, so the owner has discussed it with neighbors. So I do not see a notice issue.
And I'm
in this
assuming
instance.
I'm assuming the plans that were provided to the neighbors included the second unit in the basement?
That's correct. It is a revised set of drawings.
Based on
same
all of that,
zoning notice,
Mr.
yeah.
Chair, as long as we're not changing the purpose and it goes out, the decision is made based on the plans in front of you and the purpose stays the same, I don't think there is an issue. Because the application form, the cover letter, the plans, nothing is referencing the duplex. The only two documents that do, but aren't, are the revised zoning review and the planning report.
Understood. So then we would not change the purpose?
Correct.
And if we change the purpose, then we do have a notice issue? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think there's a notice issue. It's just a matter of clarity for the public. But
Well, that can be interpreted multiple ways.
If I got a notice saying detached dwelling versus duplex, I think to, you know, the average neighbor, they would see detached dwelling, single family, duplex triggers, there's more than one. Yeah, see, that's where the rub comes in, and that's where the sensitivity comes in. That is
So-
a notice issue. I would caution and err on the side of
Fairness.
conservatism and
Yes.
to say
and-
potentially.
And also, we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know if anybody else might think about this if those are trigger words, if I can use that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, the counter argument is that there's going to be no, it's only the variances and they're going to be minor and they're not going to be an issue. However, if we don't, my issue is that if we don't change the purpose and approve it as it is, and then it goes to buildings as a duplex, then it almost looks like we're trying to sneak something through. Yeah, but none of the neighbors know that.
Buildings is the one who issued the zoning notice.
But the
saying
building
duplex.
permit they're going to get
Yeah.
is going to be for a duplex.
That's right.
But what they went to the committee for,
It's going to say detached dwelling.
right,
Right.
that's my problem.
That's the rub. Yeah.
But then so just to clarify, if you're considering deferral, then they have to submit revised plans and a revised application that label it as a duplex.
Well, that's what it is.
I know, but we don't have that right now. So that has to be part of your motion to obtain revised materials.
To me, you can't have it both ways. You can't have an application this morning with the secondary suite that's called a duplex, and now we have one that's, you
Saying
know,
detached.
that's saying detached dwelling, and it is a duplex. So it's just. But I'm not about to move motion, so just my opinion. Panel members, it's in your hands.
So then, on that basis, I'm going to move a motion to defer this item as a result of the notice issue.
So that the notice can be changed and the appropriate drawing submitted. Yes?
Recognizing it as a duplex versus detached dwelling.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, all opposed? Okay, the item is deferred.
Thanks for unmuting me.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think the item's closed.
4-1.
4-1, yeah. Was on the verge of going the other way, but no, couldn't do that. Okay, item 30 is deferred, or was deferred. So we are on to item 31. 50 Francis Avenue. This application was deferred from August of 2024. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. Forestry is requesting conditions 2 and 3. And I see Mr. Milne Price at the microphone.
Yeah, I believe 30 was we were trying to get an explanation from city planning. So I was told by the AT that they're.
Oh, okay, sorry. Why do I have it written down as deferral? Got it. Sorry about that. Okay. So.
Can we get her back on the phone?
Yeah.
To see if she's had any luck contacting.
Right. So number 8, Denison Road West, an application to construct a new fourplex. Four variances being requested. Yeah. Forestry requesting 2 and 3. Objection from number 15, Denison, and Metrolinx with advisory comments. Sorry about that.
So we do have the agent online, and we also have a last-minute area resident that is also connected.
Okay. So if we could start with the agent and see if she's had any luck.
Andrea, go ahead.
I did have success in
Excellent.
contacting the planner, and there seems to be a bit of misunderstanding. So some of the deferral recommendations really don't apply. For example, number 5. And by the way, I did not receive this document that was produced on January 29. And whether it was, I believe the planner is having issues with his email, but I also didn't receive a hard copy. So it's a big misunderstanding. So I request that we defer to the next available committee, and I will have a meeting with the planner in the meantime.
Okay, so we're kind of full circle. Thank you. Was there anyone else to speak to item 30?
Yes, I'll connect them now.
Hello?
Hi, this is Rose Packman. I live across the street at 15 Denison Road. I've been here about 5 years.
Okay.
And I have I have some concerns about 3 of the 4 variants.
Okay, before we get into that, I think what's being proposed now is that we're not going to deal with.
To defer it? Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to make a motion for deferral.
Okay, Ms. Alderson,
I'll second that.
thank you. All in favor? Okay, the item is now deferred. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. 50 Francis Avenue, this application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. Forestry requesting conditions 2 and 3, and no other comments from other departments. Welcome, Mr. Milne Price.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to be back, fellow committee members. Just for the record, my name is Addison Milne Price. I'm a planner at Design Plan Services located at 87 Skyway Avenue, here on behalf of the owner.
Don't think we need a presentation on it.
Fair enough.
But if you could stand by for questions, if any.
Absolutely. Perhaps I could just speak to the one letter of objection by
Sure.
48 Francis, the neighbor just to the south. So that neighbor hasn't actually objected to any of the variances that we're proposing. Their main concern is related to the shared detached garage that straddles the property line between the 2 properties. I'll point out there's no easement or right-of-way between these 2 properties, so the house that we're proposing, even an as-of-right house, could end up with legally removing this part of the garage. What I will point out for the neighbors' benefit, if they are watching this, is that the distance between the 2 lots that will remain will be quite similar to some of the other driveways that exist along Francis Avenue. Even 52 Francis Avenue, the house to the north, will have a similar driveway width compared to what the neighbor at 48 Francis will have. after this construction.
Okay. Any questions? No? All right, we'll take it into committee. Thank you. Still trying to get,
No, there is no one for this one.
I'm still trying to get caught up to find the file, sorry. Plans. No, well, there are two, I believe, forestry conditions 2 and 3. I'm just trying to have a look at the plans because I can't remember this one now. Okay, so this is a situation where there's an asphalt drive. Oh, this is a driveway next to a driveway. Is that what it is? Yeah. With no right of way. Okay. Okay. If there's no discussion, then is anyone ready for a motion?
Sure. I'd like to move a motion for approval. I believe the application is straightforward and meets the 4 tests, subject to the forestry memo dated January 28, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Alderston. All in favor? Okay, it's a unanimous approval. Item 32, 34 WOOLTON Crescent. This is an application to construct a 2-story west side addition that will include an attached garage and a rear platform, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, and a covered front porch. There are 5 variances being requested. Planning has 3 conditions of approval. Forestry is requesting, second guessing now, Forestry is requesting conditions 2 and 3. And Ravine is requesting condition 1, so it's like all the forestry conditions, I believe. Okay. And we have an agent online, Catherine? No.
You're correct.
Yes, okay.
Catherine, are you there? Catherine, we can't hear you. You are unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, good afternoon. I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you could just perhaps give us a brief overview.
Yeah, for sure. It's terribly hard to hear you, but I'm hoping you can hear me. So good afternoon. My name is Catherine Rauscher. I'm an associate with MHBC Planning, 12 James Street North. I'm here today on behalf of the owners of 34 WOOLTON Crescent, Anna Maria and Mario, who I believe are with you there today in person. So before you this afternoon is, as you've mentioned, an application for 5 minor variances to facilitate the renovation of their forever home. We had previously deferred the application to give ourselves some time to work with staff on some of the variances, specifically related to the height and the front yard setback of the home. And in doing so, we've been able to prepare plans that staff are in support of and are reasonable for the area, given the unique lot my clients have. We also had 2 neighbors, 29 WOOLTON Crescent, who is directly across the street from us, and 36 WOOLTON Crescent, who is directly east of us, have written in support of our application. We've had a chance to review the city staff report, and we have no concerns, and we support their recommendation for approval along with the noted conditions. And of note, we've also received approval through the TRCA and obtained a permit under their jurisdiction, but I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, and you're good with the forestry conditions?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Okay, there's another resident online. I believe they're in support, though?
Yes, so we had Diana for support. However, she is not online currently.
No problem. Okay, if there's no questions, let's take it into committee.
Chair, part of move approval of this application authorizing the variances. I believe what's being requested today is appropriate, meets the 4 tests. I'm moving approval subject to the 3 planning conditions, the report of January the 27th, and urban forestry condition number 1.
There's more forestry conditions, I believe, or am I wrong?
Hold on, Chair, I have it right in front of me. 2 and 3, excuse me. No, the numbering is wrong here again.
It confused all of us.
Okay, so Ravine is not involved in this one either? Then why is there a report from Ravine on, oh, I see. I got it.
In my notes, I have USC 1.
That was based on the item numbers, but there's nothing for Woolton.
There's nothing.
So there's no forestry?
No.
There's no more forestry for the rest of today.
Great. Subject to the planning report of January the 27th.
I'll second that, Mr.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And item 33 has been deferred, which concludes our yes, planning conditions, 3 planning conditions.
34 Wilton, urban forestry number 1. You see? 34 Wilton is the address. Urban condition.
No, 34 Woolton, okay.
Urban forestry condition 1.
Item 30, labeled as item 33. Barb, let's just clarify this. The Ravine report has an attached chart which has Woolton labeled as item 33, which is, it's 32, but they're requesting urban forestry 1.
Ravine did, but there's no forestry condition.
Okay, but so do we not impose a Ravine condition?
It says conditions of urban forestry number 1. On Wilton.
Yeah,
But it's their conditions are different than urban forestry.
so we don't impose those?
You do, but it's already finished and you didn't.
Okay.
So we have Aintree and CRESCENT.
Yeah, but we've got to start a new session. Yeah. Yeah.
There's only 1 left, isn't it?
Yeah, but we gotta do the deferral on 34.
If it's open, it's a different story.
Okay, what time are we going back? Okay, let's. Oh,
Good to go.
okay, we're good now. Okay, everyone's good. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to session 3. Good afternoon. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. I just want to do a brief introduction of our members. Sorry, I'm Stan Komorik. I'll be chairing. Natalia Popovic on my far left, Dominic Gully on my left, Laura Alderson on my right, and Bill Dalton on my far right. I was hoping not to have to go through all this again.
I was hoping you wouldn't either.
The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Our land acknowledgement: we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Our procedure this afternoon: Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, while others will do so online. And the meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option to participate via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator. Those participating by video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelists. When your item is being held, during this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during the 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as attendee. Copies of the decision of the committee. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, as a Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal, and only the applicant, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and specified persons and public bodies may now appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Procedure: we will go through the items in order listed on the agenda. When making your application, please advise the chair if you want to do a presentation and committee does not require one. Applicants are advised to, The committee may ask questions and or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching that 5-minute mark. Any presentation or other material you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members are not able to accept materials at the hearing today. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposal at the hearing today. If there are substantial revisions, we may decide to ensure that the application is accurate and therefore defer the application. Individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those on WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has the opportunity to rebut, but only those issues that were raised by the previous speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. Okay. So our first item this afternoon is item 34, which is 3 AINTREE Crescent. And this is an application to construct a 3-season gazebo in the rear yard. And I believe, please come up. The planning staff have asked for a deferral, and I just wanted to ask Angela, you're the applicant. And how do you feel about the request for deferral?
A deferral, no, I would not like a deferral.
You would not like a deferral. And do you know why they've asked for that, or have you had some discussions with planning?
They never asked me, they never said anything to me.
Okay. I think this may not be, I don't think they actually are asking for a deferral because they also have a report stating a condition. So could I get clarification from staff? No? My mistake? Okay.
That was item 34, which was 100 Glenaden, but this is 3 AINTREE, so they just have a report.
But this is item 34.
That's why we gave you a break to reset.
Okay.
That's why we got treats.
Okay. All right, I'm not going crazy, thank you. So sorry, my mistake. Planning has a condition of approval. I'm not sure if you're aware of that condition.
Of the rear yard setback?
Their condition is the proposed development shall be constructed as illustrated in the proposed site plan and elevation submitted on January the 2nd and held on file by the committee. So they basically want to tie you to your drawings.
Yes.
You're okay with that?
Yes.
Perfect. And we have forestry, do we have, no, there's no forestry, right?
Forestry visited, and they said it was all okay.
Perfect. So we have no other conditions. Just a community planning condition. I'm not sure we need we don't need a presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
There is a lady present who wants to speak.
Okay. So if there is, let's have her come up. Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for your patience for sitting through all that.
I got treats. Okay. I'm the neighbor.
Okay. Can we get your name and address,
Susan
please?
Priest,
Yeah.
6 West Head Road.
Okay.
And my objection is to the application itself because the southern boundary is under dispute at the moment and is in front of the courts, and it has not been decided upon.
The southern, okay, so if I'm looking at the site plan, let me get a direction.
It's sort of off the screen.
You're saying this matter is before the court?
I can't really read it. My lot covers the far right one, well, all three actually. And my house is no more than, I think it's 9 feet from that lot line.
Okay.
And at one time, it was my parents' house. And the lot line moved to allow him access to a garage in the back. And we've had access to that for, wow, 60, 70 years.
Okay, so you don't have any concerns with this, with any of the variances that are being requested then?
Well, that would impact the variance.
The rear yard setback, was that what?
Yeah.
Okay, because there is a rear yard setback being requested. Okay, and so you're saying that the survey that was provided in the application is not correct then?
It's in front of the courts at the moment, so it hasn't been decided.
Okay, so I'd like to hear the applicants, unless there's something else you want to.
No.
Okay, so before you go,
Yes.
do you object to the variance?
No.
You don't. So you're okay with him building?
I
what he's
have no
proposing?
problem with them building that there.
Okay.
I would just like access to my backyard, and that's
Okay,
what we're
but so
going through.
if the variance were to increase because of your dispute, you're still not opposing his application?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I have a question?
I just want the lot line moved.
No, that's a
Okay.
separate issue.
Yeah, okay.
What we want to know is whether we can hear this
As long as
item or not.
once it's on paper, it doesn't say, well, this is what you agreed to before.
Well, we don't set the boundary.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you had a
Yes, ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. Do you have any, can you just clarify the nature of the dispute and what court it's before and what stage it's at?
Well, we're waiting for a court date. It's court file number CV 20-0064451-5-000.
And it's a dispute about the boundary line?
Yes.
And it's pending?
Yes,
Thank you.
to see if I'm grandfathered or not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
So the surveys that I have 3 surveys. These are all, this is from 2015, and it was updated in November 24 to add my garage that I built in 2016.
Okay, so your variances are based on the survey that you've provided.
Yes.
And what I've heard from your neighbor is that she doesn't object to what you're doing.
Mhm.
So the only danger to you, if any, is that should the court rule that the boundary is somewhere else, your variance may be different from what we approved today.
Correct.
And that's the risk. You may have to come back, yeah. But maybe not.
But isn't a property line boundary a property line boundary? Like, I have 3 legal surveys.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if it's an adverse possession claim. She didn't get into that.
Yeah.
Based on where the fence location is.
I believe the risk or concern might be for you, sir, is if there's a court order
Mhm.
that makes the decision that has an impact on the variances, you may have to come back. I mean, we don't know, no one knows until the
So-
outcome is had.
I would have to come back and get a different variance to be a smaller.
I mean, we don't know.
So,
Well, I mean, if he gets a permit and builds it before the court decision, then it's compliant when it was built, so then he won't have to come back.
there is an existing gazebo there now. It's a freestanding gazebo, as I'm not sure if you could see it on the survey.
It's on the
there.
It's on the site plan.
Yeah, on the site plan. So basically that gazebo is going to be closer to the house, so further away from the south lot line by about 40 centimeters. And it's just going to be basically attached to the house.
Yep.
So I don't think, I'm not a lawyer, I can't give legal advice. This is before you today. There is no court date set. It's not imminent where something is about to be resolved. So if the applicant receives an approval, gets a permit, builds it, it's a lawfully built structure. And if something happens down the road where he no longer has that same boundary, I think the Toronto Building or legal would have to provide advice. It would be a lawfully existing building that just doesn't comply with today's bylaw standards.
Yeah, so if he's applying for something else later, then
Down the road,
then that would be
legalize it.
included as part of the legalization.
Provided he builds it and gets the permits and everything before.
Yeah, so the risk is minimal. But we just have to point out that it's there.
No, I understand.
So if you want to proceed, we can proceed.
Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, it's been a confusing day today. Okay, thanks. So we're good. We're just going to take it in for discussion, and thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm assuming no one has any other questions. So we can take it into committee then?
So given all that, and with the pending rear yard setback that may or may not change, I'd still like to move a motion for approval, because I think this application is straightforward and meets the 4 tests, subject to the conditions in the January 27, 2024 planning memo.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Sorry, I think no one's seconding.
I'll second that, sure.
Okay.
I thought someone at the other end had
No.
I'll second that, no problem.
Okay. Thank you, Dominic. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so the application is approved on a split vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. With the one planning condition. Laura was opposed, so it's.
Sorry, what was the condition? You said one condition? Oh, okay. So when I just go to the building department, they will. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
If you want to read the planning condition, it's on the information system. But I can tell you what it is right now. I mean, we only got one other item, so hold on.
It's subject to the site plan and elevations.
Yeah, they're just tying you to your drawings. Okay.
Dated January 2nd, 2025.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
You very much. How do I get a copy of what I have to fill out? Email? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, item 35. 1 Orchard Crescent. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 6 variances being requested. Transportation has 4 conditions of approval, and planning has also submitted a condition of approval. Orzen Stambuk is our agent, if this is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Ozren Stambuk at 15 Moreland Road.
Okay. I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you could just give us some highlights, please.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So really the highlights have to do with the fact that we have been deferred 4 times. That is a bit of a highlight in my career. I haven't gotten to 4 yet, so it's a highlight for me. And this time
So you're not asking for deferral today?
No. Well, I mean, after 5, do you get a prize after 5? Because that would be special. But actually, it's what's remarkable is in those 4 times, I haven't once requested deferral in those 4 times. It was just various unfortunate circumstances. One of those actually relating to the height variance, which I think is the most notable one there, because originally the zoning examiner wrote the variance to say the maximum height was higher than what it actually is. So then there was some back and forth, and what we have now is we're proposing 9.59 meters, whereas 8.5 is allowed. And we have worked with planning to make that an acceptable variance. We have mitigated some of the impact of that variance by doing some design elements like a cornice around the top of the walls, and hence that's why we're completely fine with, of course, with planning's recommendations to be tied to those elevations, because this is the house that we want built. And also just a very minor note, 9 centimeters of that 9.59 meters, it's to the top of a slight slope at the top of the roof. Nobody will ever be able to see it. So it's really technically 9.5 meters. And we feel like the impact is acceptable for the neighborhood. And we agree with planning report and agree very much with also transportation report. We're happy to provide them all the extra information they're asking for in the report. So I believe the rest of the variances are quite minor. Again, wall height is linked to the building height, and it is mitigated by elevations. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, so that you guys can all go home after a long day.
Before the freezing rain. Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions? No questions. And there's no one else online?
That is correct.
Perfect. So we'll take it into committee. Thank you, sir.
No comments, no questions?
I have no comments. I don't know if anyone else does.
No? Okay. If not, then I'd like to move a motion for approval. I believe this application is straightforward, meets the 4 tests, subject to the January 22nd, 2025 planning memo and January 29th, 2025 transportation services memo.
Excellent. Is there a seconder?
Yes, I'll second.
Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Horst.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn
Looking for another motion.
at 4:40 p.m. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Best motion of the day.